If Elite 8 lose in this best of 5 to Brenchong, they will be unable to attend the live finals and try to defend their title.
But honestly, look at the teams that went through and qualified for the live championship so far. We are seeing the usual strong teams up there. We've got Infamous, we've got Impunity, and of course, just recently, or even in the previous match, ASN Esports made it through as well. So now, but Brenchong, I've said it before, the first match started, that Brenchong is just looking so very strong coming to this match, coming into the series at least, and it is just down to how Elite 8 will draft, because we know for a fact that yesterday Elite 8 that went up against Infamous, they lost 3-0.
Yeah, I think Elite 8, they didn't play that well yesterday. They'll be slightly annoyed with how that went. But obviously coming into today, they'll be fully ready for it, and they won't want to give away too much. You don't want to show your entire hand before the live championships, because then other teams will just know what you're up against. So I'm sure that they're going to have some stuff just in the locker. But then again, they don't want to save everything and not get to the live finals. So I think if Elite 8 manage to lose one game, maybe lose a couple of games, we're going to be seeing something very special coming out from them.
So what you're saying that it's that we might just see 5 games for today, or rather not 5 games, but Elite 8 will push it to the 5th game, or the best of 5, like 5 games itself.
Definitely possible. Mm-hmm. Definitely possible. If Elite 8 lose one game, they quite often tend to get a little bit tilted, and then maybe lose the next game straight after that. So that's something that all the teams need to be really careful of. Don't not let themselves get on tilt. Really calm yourself down after one loss. Just say, okay, they played well. We can win the next game and try and forget what happened in the first game.
Yep, and that is what we saw as well.
And now we're going to be heading into the draft for the first game. Really excited to see what Brenchong are going to ban. It's most likely to be a Catherine. That's what we tend to see from Brenchong. And then Elite 8 like to ban carries as opposed to captains.
Yep, but we do see that Catherine been banned out for now. And this is what we saw as well. Before we head out into drafts, I wanted to say that Elite 8 lost 2 games to the old ASN Esports. At a point in time, still named Popeyes, before they brought it back in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th game for themselves. So we might see it happen today. And, Elite 8, like you say, they enjoy banning out their carries, but this time they will be going for that Lyra ban.
Yeah, with Catherine being banned, you don't want to give away Lyra and not have Catherine to counter it. Clearly, Elite 8 don't think Grace is a priority at all, because they're obviously leaving that open without Catherine to counter it. So I think they probably, if Grace was picked, they're just going to go Batiste. They're very comfortable on Batiste. It's a good flex pick, captain or as a jungler. I would expect Brenchong to go for the Grace, or maybe Batiste themselves, but maybe they go for Idris. We haven't known whether Brenchong they think about Idris, because it was banned away from them almost every game yesterday, and they're going to go for the Baron. That's very interesting. I was not expecting that at all.
Yep, I mean, Baron in the previous patch, you would think that it will be prioritized, but this time Brenchong just showing their hands a little, just picking up that Baron almost immediately in this current patch 2.7. We saw some changes to Baron and hasn't been prioritized so far in all of the matches that we've seen. And this was a comp that they brought out, Baron and some other heroes that they picked up for themselves, and they lost against that of Enix, or is that Enix that we saw?
Can't quite remember what happened with Baron, but yeah, Baron's definitely got a little bit nerfed, and so I think Idris would be great to counter it. Elite 8 could go, but they're going to ban Celeste. That's really odd. We saw the Cruel Celeste comp from Brenchong, so maybe Elite 8 don't want to pick one of them, because generally, if you want to deny Cruel Celeste, you either ban Cruel or pick Celeste. But this time we're seeing a Celeste ban, so that means Brenchong could either go with the Scarf ban to get rid of all of those late game carries, or they could try and get rid of maybe the Batiste, because we know Elite 8 are very comfortable on Batiste.
Yeah, Batiste will be a solid ban for the side of Brenchong at this point in time, just to deny official Hein on that Batiste. And whether or not, though, Elite 8 will go through this ban, they are taking the time. However, thinking about the second phase of draft, they are going to ban out that Scarf. Yet again, both majors taken out in the second phase of draft, but no emphasis on Batiste yet, although the side of Elite 8 now have got a chance to pick up that Baptiste for themselves, or they can just give out a comp that they've played so far as well. They can pick up the Rona. We've seen a couple of Ronas from them before. Rona for them looks like a very comfortable pick as well. Hanjega especially on that Rona. But Baptiste would be the more solid pickup at this point in time. I mean, because you do not want to show a hand too much, but they are going to settle for that Fox going up against this Baron.
It's a very 2.6 meta draft from both sides, seeing Baron, Grace and Vox all picked despite all being nerfed in this patch. I think Vox into Baron isn't the best decision. Maybe that's just a comfort pick for Elite 8. So I think Baron does extremely well against Vox, and now that means they're not able to get the Baptiste picked. I'd expect that to go into Captain, but they're actually going to make it Crystal Baptiste and go for the Captain Lance. Good drafting from Brenchong. They're happy with this comp. They like to play Lance. And so I think what Elite 8 needs to do here is need to pick Celeste. Oh wait, no, it's been banned. They have to go something like Samuel. So another thing Brenchong have done really well is they've picked Crystal Baptiste, who's countered by the 2 heroes that have been banned in the second phase. So that leaves not much left open for Elite 8 to counter that Crystal Baptiste.
Yeah, but even then, if they do go for that Samuel, then it's countered or rather checked quite hard by this Baptiste. And the side of Elite 8, they will settle for that Black Feather. Not surprising whatsoever, because you have the Rose Offensive to just get out of that Ordain when it does land on you. But in the early game though, Baptiste is just so much stronger as compared to you. And on top of that, a lot of hard CCs coming up from that Lance with those Root. And of course, on top of that, getting wall you into a wall and thus stunning you. And whereas for Grace, you have only one CC, and that really is just your Holy Nova that's easily dodgeable as well. So honestly, looking at draft itself, although I do not quite favor the Baron pickup on the side of Brenchong, but I must say Brenchong just looks like they have got a stronger draft, a more robust, balanced comp throughout. Whereas the side of Elite 8, it is down to, I mean, just Vox doesn't do quite well into that of Baron, but granted, you have that early game against the Baron, so it is just down to execution from the side of Elite 8, but I'm sure Elite 8 can do this, but for now, I still favor the drafting coming up from the side of Brenchong.
Yeah, I do agree. I think Brenchong have drafted slightly better. Elite 8 may have more comfortable picks, so that's why they went for that's most likely why they went for the Vox. And CP Blackfeather, he's quite good against Baptiste. Obviously, with that Rose Offensive, you can dodge Ordain stuns. But I think if I'm playing Baptiste and I use my Ordain to force Blackfeather ult, that's a positive trade for me. My Ordain is up again reasonably soon. I do it again, I force another ult, and Blackfeather suddenly has no Rose Offensive to dive into your backline, dive onto your Baron. So that gives Baron an easy pass out away from Blackfeather if he's forced to Rose Offensive out of Ordain. So I think Baptiste can do really well as long as they just wait a little bit before the fight breaks out. And if Baron's allowed to poke during that that little waiting phase, then Brenchong will be in a fantastic position. Then again, Elite 8, all they have to do, pressure Baron, not let him farm up, and try and win the game before he manages to get that 4, maybe even 5 damage items.
Yep, which is very easy for this current patch to just poke out Baron, only because of how badly he scales now, even into the late game, because of the 5% damage dip that he received in 2.7 change. So that is one thing that's going for the side of Elite 8. And on top of that, Elite 8 has got a very strong early game lane comp with that Grace, and of course on top of that, Hanjega as well. Items much cheaper if he is opting for that Poison Shift build, then definitely cheaper, definitely easier to get to with that build. And you can poke out and of course out sustain that of Baron as well in that of the early game. However, we do see though that Hunt is playing and not Majin that we usually would see on the side of Brenchong. So a rather significant change. I mean, this is the final day you can and have a chance to get into the live championships right now. So if you don't have your original roster,
they just aren't able to steal away that weird. So he's playing pretty well at the moment. I'm going to say if you can get stunned up. Venegas did both take down, so Brenchong really can't fight this. They're 2v3. Mr. Jim obviously got the ambient back with Sync 1, but that means Vox pushed the wave in, so Baron was forced to try and clear that before trying to impale on Venegas. No Sonic Zoom yet, he's only level 1. So there's just a little poke from both sides. Brenchong are level 2 on Baron, so Venegas really can't try and fight this. got a massive wave. Diego's got a massive wave to try and clear. I think Mr. Jim will rotate either to the back, so that they will be about to be taken to the support home. He's actually going to try and farm up.
Damn, I must say, the amount of times I've seen this skin on this Lance, and yet every single time I look at Lance and this particular skin itself, I'm in awe, right? I just like this skin so much. I'm so sorry. So sorry for like sidetracking, but that is something.
It is a good skin. It is a good skin. It's one of my favorite skins to have.
Ooh, that recall animation though on Lance. But Brenchong now, they will go in for the mid train, or rather the side of E8, and it's just down whether or not Sync 1 can steal this ancient treant, and unfortunately the side of E8 will get it, and I mean pays off for their effort that they went in to try to get this ancient treant at the end of the day. Sync 1 though, I'm expecting a little more aggression coming up from him, especially going up against an official high on this CP Black Feather, only because you are so much stronger, especially when you're empowered. So it is quite astounding to me, or rather astonishing to me, that they are playing so very passive. Granted, you have the Baron, you cannot be very, very aggressive or all out in terms of aggression in that early game, but even then, ooh, interesting coming up from the side of Brenchong.
Yeah, we're seeing Baron take all the farm, didn't he? He got the backs away from Sync 1. So that means that official Hein on 21 CS to Sync 1 10, and he's not going to get caught out by the hook, but maybe caught out by the faint part. Dane on Black Feather, and Viegas is a good rotation. Sync 1 going to back off, he'll be okay. And yeah, Mr. Jim, he's not that far ahead of Viegas despite taking all the jungle away from Sync 1. So suggests Baron maybe having a little bit of trouble with farming, and he's going to have to get some items for home. But what do you think? Do you think hyper farming Baron's a good idea, or should they make Matisse more powerhouse?
But I guess that kind of works because Matisse is kind of a balanced hero in that late game, whereas Baron struggles to get into the late game. So by giving Baron that little bit of farm, you know, in your jungle, then it kind of just intensify, you know. It kind of just, you know, push you into that of the late game in when the 9th minute or so reaches. You have your levels, on top of that you have got extra farm as well. So I guess it's a decent idea going into this particular team comp as well, and I reckon Sync 1 on this Matisse will just be there for that Ordain, and of course just to be in line with that of Lance, so Lance can drop those roots and impales easier. That way Baron, or rather Mr. Jim on that Baron, can just put out so much damage in that of the mid game. So I understand where they are coming from, and yet again we do see the Serpent's Mask being picked up for Mr. Jim on that Baron.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's the best build Baron. This patches over Serpent's Mask, potential bow, 3 crit items. I think that is the best build, because you get a little bit of sustain and you get Saints, very similar damage to the old 4 item Baron build. You just need 5 items to do it now. Jim can try and farm up this away best he can. Farming some nice poke, and it's just playing part of this one. Uday does land onto this time. Take a little bit of poke, but put more back onto Mr. Jim, potion to keep himself healthy. And now Mr. Jim is not going to calm the wave, he's going to go to the back. So I think he might be spotted, so Elite 8 going to push this wave quite hard. And Baron only able to get the Treant before the minion candy wave is stopped by Deadpan. I think they must know, Elite 8 must know that Brenchong are ready up. And we're seeing so much Crystal Sentry emphasis from all teams today. What can Sync 1 do? Nothing. And that's Sentry first life defeated already. Elite 8 are really rotating as a team.
Yep, I mean, removing the MVP first in the game is always important. It is like you going down very hard on the carry. So in this case, a lot of times you've seen, and even in the late game, it's just the Crystal Sentry is just way too OP, and then you have to remove it as early as possible because Crystal Sentry has got 3 lives at the end of it all. But all jokes aside, honestly, Elite 8 is performing so much better in terms of rotation as compared to that of Brenchong. And like I said earlier on before stream, it's that, you know, Brenchong really likes
impale, good double shot at the end. Nothing going to come out of it.
Yeah, really likes that Lance pick up for themselves, and a lot of times when they have the Lance, they like to be very, very aggressive, but in this case, the aggression is not coming through because of how late game that Baron is. Like you said, the Serpent's Mask is good pickup on Baron, but Baron now needs 5 offensive items to make himself work and put out decent damage, or rather similar damage, rather than, you know, usually you just need 4 offensive items. And overall, at the end of it all, it's cheaper as well to have 4 offensive items, and the output of damage is just so much greater. Yet again, the side of E8 going for the Crystal Sentry, just ignoring the existence whatsoever coming up from Brenchong.
Yeah, this is what we saw yesterday. We're seeing it again today. Is you push the wave as 3, and so if they don't rotate out to lane, just okay, we'll just get your turret down and kill it. And if they do rotate out to lane, you go straight to their Crystal Sentry. I think it's a rotation we're going to see a lot more of. I think teams are going to get smart to it. They're going to try and counter it as best they can, but it works extremely well, and it is hard to counter because we know Baron, he clears the wave quite quickly, but he has to get to backs to get ambient or to take them away from Batiste, and so that means there is time for Elite 8 to push this wave. So it's a really good rotation, and Sentry eliminated twice already. We saw Sentry be defeated before 10 minutes, it was about 9 minutes 40 in a game yesterday, so interesting to see if Elite 8 can actually beat that record, maybe get Sentry eliminated before 9 minutes in.
Yep, Sentry will be creeping back onto the fold very soon. Once again, Dead Hunt just left alone to defend this lane, and once again, I must say, the side of Brenchong just don't have an answer just yet, but I'll just hold that thought when an Iron Cannon drops.
Dead Hunt's gonna push back at him, that maneuver does not land. If he's tanking the turret, he's going very low. 5 wants to punch the backside on point, 366 damage onto the Baron. One more on point and he will fall. Elite 8 gonna push the wave and go for Sentry, I'm calling it now. Midi Candy, that's the cue. Gonna push this wave up, rotate down, Baron's ported home. I think they might get it under 9 minutes. They're going to go straight through it. I think Lance is going to try and stop it. Yeah, he's going to roll through the wall. But will he be able to do enough impale? Lands on Anime Save Me. Straight from Sentry. 8 minutes 37. That's the elimination Sentry. And that will be 1 kill traded over. 1 onto Lance. And a second onto Baron. He went straight back and just died. Elite 8 as 3-man. And Brenchong, Lance went by himself. Baron came in at 2v3. Then Batiste came at the end after his teammates had already died. So they're not rotating as a team. This may be a turret falling.
Yep, this just might be the turret for the side of Elite 8. Elite 8 once again bringing up what we saw from Impunity, rotating as a team of 3, prioritizing on that Crystal Sentry, not so much on those kills or even turret. And I guess this rotation kind of works at the end of the day, because you are stressing your opponents out, because your opponents don't know when to catch you. And we did see though Dead Hunt trying his best to try to stop the side of Elite 8, but to what extent? To the extent where you sacrifice 1 life, and of course your life and your Batiste's life as well. So not a very good play coming up from the side of Brenchong going into this game, but I must say, very well executed coming up from the side of Elite 8. Once again, we do see both teams, or all 3 members of Elite 8 once again up in lane.
They are. Official Hein is infused, so is Jaegers. This is also infused, but Sync 1 is not. So it's 2 times for Elite 8. For days after Official Hein, Iron Cannon's going to be got down. It will be dodged by no one actually. I think 2 members. Official Hein going to get that divine intervention. And there was an Echo use, so it's back up again for Anime Save Me. Dead Hunt is just poking back. He wants to get an impale, and Sync 1 going to do those bad mojos to poke. Elite 8 now going to push the wave. Nicely in, Anime Save Me. He's got a good block for Baron. Block out onto your day. Baron taking a lot of damage. And Black has picked up 1 kill. He's diving into the turrets. Damage onto Sync 1. No Ordain for another couple of seconds. Official Hein going to be pushed out, and he is going to receive the bounce. They're going on to Sync 1. There's the Ordain of Anime Save Me. And Official Hein going to Rose offensive through. Not quite going to have the on point. But Jaegers wants to go down, he's not going to do enough. He dives under turrets, doesn't get the kill. Official Hein does die. Elite 8 managing to get the turret though, so it's definitely going to be working for them unless Sync 1 can stop it. He's too low to even try. Anime Save Me, 1 basic, and that is a turret and 2 kills for Elite 8.
Yep, 1 turret, 2 kills, and they did give over Official Hein's health, but that wouldn't quite matter to them. At least they have gotten 2 more kills and of course a turret out of that. I'm not surprised if they will just rotate into that gold mine, but we saw this rotation coming up from Impunity yesterday, and gold mine wasn't quite the focus whatsoever. A lot of the focus is just traveling in a man of 3, and afterwards deleting the sentry, and then just put a lot of pressure in that lane. We do see the Official Hein just have got more items, offensive items in this case, as compared to Sync 1. Sync 1 has got a clockwork, has got a 30% more crystal power. coming out from that clockwork. But at the end of the day, just do not have the raw power, raw damage coming out from that of Official Hind, and we do see a lot of damage coming through from the side of Elite 8. They are going to get gold
mine, and they don't get it. Iron Cannon is a little bit late. They're going to go in Crucible, which is a bit too early, but he dodged the Fearsome Shade, and they're going to stay alive, and Jaeger's making a lot of damage on the team, but he's going to go in off Bound, going down almost dead, but not quite. He's going to do that Sonic Zoom, Sync 1 is kiting backwards. Mr. Jim is going, there's no crystal to be found in his speed. Mr. Jim going to go, lots of flash, behind, and it's good jump, gets over the wall. Two-man Holy Nova, Sync 1 is going low, so is Dead Hunt. And they say big, the back off Official High going to secure that tree, and now he wants to on point with Mr. Jim, and will now pick up the kill. All working mid stacks, that's how you do it. Well played by Official High, and they got the gold man secured, now Elite 8 going to push this tier 2 turret.
Yep. I mean, very well played indeed. 519 damage, and Lan's not making quite an impact in this game like I was expecting. I mean, there's a lot of CC coming out from the side of Brenchong, but just not enough to stop the side of Elite 8. But I guess that is the problem really with this particular rotation coming up from Elite 8. It is rather difficult to stop, because we do see though, even if I mean, Baron can push the wave very well, and this was something that we spoke about. If Baron do push, or rather when any team tries this particular rotation, and if Baron does, and laner should just push, clear the wave and push immediately. But even in this case, with a Baron online in the side of Brenchong, they just couldn't find an opportunity to push whatsoever, because honestly, enemy save is constantly there, and the wave is more often than not just minion candy. After canting the wave, they just rotate down, take the sentry, and back up again. And there was nothing that the side of Brenchong could find an answer to in this particular rotation. And I guess it is just down to the experience of the team. We saw this coming from the top teams of like that of Impunity, and today we are seeing from Elite 8, the crown champion of spring season.
I think Official High has knocked them for 5 seconds apart from each other. They needed to wait for it, which is a little bit of hope, and silence doesn't quite land for Jaegers, though we don't there's the find eventually behind the diving deep. This chase will not quite land. The Iron Cannon popping up next to High, just out of range. But Jaegers taking a little bit of poke, give one more on point. Pops finger up, and it's not enough. What are you doing, Black Panther? Walking through the Ordained, he is going to fall. Baron gets the credit for that, and now Brenchong going to try and turn this guy around. Jaegers very low, he's going to go for the wall jump. No, he's not, he's just going to walk away. Now, Elite 8 trying to run. Good Holy Nova to make sure that not follow, but that could cost Animation his life. Yes, it will, but Vox gets away. That's what they needed. No ace, and Elite 8 just slightly disappointed in that push. I think Official High went a bit too deep on the turret.
Yep. Official High definitely did go too deep. It is just down to whether Brenchong can just fully utilize this, but not much damage at least coming out from Mr. Jim. I was expecting a lot more damage, and that's why I went with those ooh and ahs. But what is wrong right now? He has got the Tyrant's Monocle, he has got the Serpent's Mask, he has got a Tension Bow as well. But Han Jaeger already has got the massive jacket, and this is the reason why a lot of times we do see that, once you have your first item followed by the Tension Bow, you really need to start putting pressure. Else, once that metal jacket is built up on Vox, you really have got no damage, as we saw as well coming out from Mr. Jim on Han Jaeger. Not much damage as well, but the chase is on for the side of Elite 8.
There's going to be the wait for it. Silence Man landing onto all 3 members, but Jaegers is alone. He's 1 versus 2. He's going to Sonic Zoom out of that Ordained. And luckily for Jaegers, he was not caught out despite being not with the rest of his team. And Elite 8 now going to rotate straight to Kraken. They're 6.5k gold ahead. All 3 members of Brenchong have ported home. And so I think Elite 8, they could hide and fight, which looks like they've got the vision control. They're going to hide and fight, which makes sense. The bait is that they're taking Kraken right now. That's what Brenchong are going to expect. There's no flare. They don't know where they are. This is bad for Brenchong. Yes, they'll be flared out, so well played by Dead Hunt. You did expect them to be waiting. And now Elite 8 probably should just take the Kraken, because they're not going to be able to hide. Trying to push the wave right now would be very difficult. So they need to force a fight. As you said, Baron will ramp up. He's almost got that Tornado trigger, only about 210 gold left until Baron can afford to pick that one up. So Elite 8 need to fight quite soon, but yeah, they're just going to hide in a bush and hope that Dead Hunt is going to flare out the Kraken and leave his team in a bad position. So there's the first flare. He's going to flare down and look for them in this bush, and they're not there, so he knows that they're doing something sneaky. And Baron and Batiste are playing fantastically well. Dead Hunt is being almost suicidal in his movements, but it doesn't matter because the rest of his team isn't there. And he's going to walk straight through, going to flare them out and roll over the wall. Elite 8 aren't able to hide. Brenchong right here. They're going to go for a fight now. There's the Sonic. There's going to be Vox going in. Nope, they're kind of going to just poke for a bit. And Elite 8 really want to go in. I think the water, they don't have water edge yet, but Vox used his wait for it, used boots, and now Elite 8 are just like, what do? We don't want to take Kraken because they can steal it away from us. We know that Baron is great at that, so is Batiste. We're not great at securing it, so we need to fight. They're now going to go into Dead Hunt. Iron Cannon to zone them away. And what do you think Elite 8 should do? Should they take Kraken and let it maybe be stealed, or just try and hide and fight?
I mean, they had a lot of chance to get that Kraken earlier on, and they are going to go on to the Kraken right now. Although the side of Elite 8, they might just, the side of Brenchong, they might just steal this Kraken. But Iron Cannon is down, Fearsome Shade is up, and the Impale from Lance, quite a good Kraken stealer as well. To be
double shot from Baron. Vox manages to get it. Fearsome Shade was far too late. Silence standing on the 3 members. Brenchong now wants to back off. There's going to be the engage. Anime Safety going in. He's going to get the Holy Nova. Not quite. Actually pushed back by Lance. And Jaeger's on the back line. Doing a lot of damage onto Sync 1. Sync 1 has to back off. Baron's jumping in. He wants to do damage onto the Visual Hide. Misses the on point. I'm going to get healed up. 612. That's the fatal part. That's an execute. And Jaeger's now chasing onto Sync 1. Can he do it? One more Sonic Zoom. All the boots. That'll be enough. But Dead Hunt's got no sentry. Anime Save Me. 5 seconds till he gets to secure the kill. But Dead Hunt will be able to roll over that wall. He should be possibly okay. Jaeger's got boots up now, and he's going to go for it. Dead Hunt with boots as well. Will he be able to do it? No, he won't. Jaeger secures the kill. Ace for Elite 8, and that may just be the game.
This might just be the game. Very good rotation, although we did see Impunity just pulling off that rotation just so much better as compared to Elite 8. I actually did speak to Quarter 4 yesterday for a little short while as to how they came out with that rotation of theirs. And honestly, Quarter 4 just told me that it was hours and hours of preparation, and on top of that, a lot of practice as well, which I mean, to that, it kind of makes sense at the end of the day because they kind of pulled the rotation off so much better. And although the side of Elite 8 try it as well, it's just not as smooth or poetic per se as compared to that of Impunity when they did so yesterday. But anyways, a very good game coming up from the side of Elite 8. Very good draft as well, I must say, from Brenchong, but they just did not execute it too well. I do not think that giving your farm all to Mr. Jim is the bestest of idea, especially since he cannot quite hard carry per se, and the fact that you could have just snowballed or rather put on pressure with your Batiste had you got enough farm. Have you had enough farm, you could have just put pressure with the Batiste and not rely on Mr. Jim for that late game. So honestly, I guess it's just bad execution coming up from the side of Brenchong, but just good drafting overall.
Yeah, I think that they had a comp that could have won in the late game. But as you said, Elite 8, they kind of just copied this rotation, and it's obviously not going to be as polished, as well thought out as when it was played yesterday. But they knew the essence of how it worked. It's just push the wave, rotate down, push the wave, rotate down. And Brenchong's idea of, right, let's farm up Baron by him taking lane and jungle is perfect against that rotation. Because all you have to do is wait until Baron's not in lane. He's rotating to the jungle. Then once he's in the jungle, he takes his farm. He has to go straight to lane. And while he's going up, you can come down. And it wasn't as well executed, but it worked. They won the game. And I think if the Kraken had been stolen by Brenchong, we may have been talking about a different story right now. Brenchong probably could have won that if they'd have stolen the Kraken. They would have got maybe a tie, maybe 2. Got into more late game where Baron had 4 damage items, maybe even 5. But as it was, Elite 8 well played, eliminating the Sentry, 8 minutes 37. Challenge anyone else to try and beat that time in a ranked game. That's pretty impressive nonetheless.
That is very impressive indeed. And we did say though, Brenchong might put up a very good fight, and indeed they did in that previous game, in that first game at least, going up against Elite 8. They put up a decent fight, but Elite 8 just ultimately worked around that. Although, like you said, not as polished in their rotations wise, but at the end of it all, they did pull it off. And I personally do not think that going into this draft, Baron should be prioritized anymore. The Lance pickup was good, the Batiste pickup was good, but had they went for an Idris, then maybe the story would be different.
Yeah, I think it just would have been a good decision, but I'm not sure that Baron it just would have worked very well. I think it's very likely that Brenchong just aren't going to focus on the Baron anymore. They know that even though Vox is known as terrible against Baron, Elite 8 could just win because they had the rotation, they had the early game, and Baron's just so easy to snowball that I don't think it would be a good idea for Brenchong to pick it. They don't need to ban it because they could just try and counter it. But we're going to find out because we're now going to head into the draft of the second match between Brenchong and Elite 8. Elite 8 going to be on a pretty high happiness streak after that one win. And I'd expect them to ban away a carry. That's what we generally tend to see. They're going to get rid of the Baron. Just why not? Elite 8, they won the last game. Might as well just go back to their comfort drafts.
Yep, I mean, Baron is quite a good ban going up against, and only in this case, it is a good ban going up against Brenchong at least, because we did see that Brenchong really favors their Baron at the end of it all. But however, the side of Brenchong coming into this first ban have got a lot to think about. Batiste is a good pickup for the side of Elite 8. Grace is as well. Lyra is as well, because we saw Anime Save Me, and on that, Lyra put out a lot of good plays as well. So they are going to remove that Catherine, the most sensible one out of all the roamers that they can remove from the fold. But yet again, Grace will be open up for the side of Elite 8, which will be on the blue team, and of course, Brenchong on the red side.
Yeah, we know that Brenchong do love to ban away their Catherine. They've done it almost every game just because they don't want to play against it. They clearly are not comfortable playing it. And now Elite 8 are going to pick Glaive away from Brenchong. We know Brenchong are comfortable playing either Glaive, weapon lane, or as a roam. So that means it's picked away from them, and Elite 8 are going to be pretty happy with that flexible pick. I'd expect Brenchong to pick up the Lyra now, maybe even Grace, but I think Lyra would make the most sense. It's quite good against Glaive. It's a really good captain in general, and they still have a chance of getting that Cruel Celeste comp that they loved to play in the previous playoff battles, but then they're going to go straight for it. They're saying, okay, if you don't ban Cruel, I'm picking it. I don't think you can counter it. And I think this is pretty risky from Brenchong, because Elite 8, if Brenchong do decide to pick Cruel if it's left open, that means Elite 8 know their carries and they can just counter it. And also a Grace ban tempts a Lyra ban from Elite 8, so Brenchong are really trying something in this draft.
Yep, but although I would think that if in a double ban, if you pick up one mage, at least ban out the other mage. Granted, Grace is a decent ban going into that of Elite 8, but she is just not that uncounterable. Whereas a Scarf, and just judging from how Elite 8 plays, you would know that they really prioritize on those early game, and Scarf just does so well in terms of damage as compared to that of Celeste, with the Spitfire and Goop with a consistent damage over time. So I honestly do not think Grace is the viable ban. If you want, at least remove that Lyra from the fold, because you kind of risk it anyways at the end of the day. But, honestly, Cruel is a very good pickup right now, but they are just going to fall back on that Lance.
What Brenchong wanted was they wanted to ban the Grace and then bait out the Cruel ban so they could pick Lyra. I'm pretty certain that's why they spent so long of bonus time thinking, because they weren't expecting a Lyra ban and let Cruel through. So like, well, we can't just pick it because then we're giving away our carries. That's the whole point of B-side, is you can counter pick. So Lance pick is a good captain. There aren't that many meta captains left. I think Arden is probably the next most meta captain. But we could see a Fortress from Elite 8. We know that it's definitely possible. Or maybe just a Roam Batiste. That would work extremely well. We know they're comfortable on Batiste. Well, they weren't allowed it in the last game, but it could work really well now. And maybe even Idris, but I think it's more likely we're going to see some range, something like a Vox again, or maybe even a Ringo/Gwen.
Yep, definitely. I mean, they can go for the off-tank Glaive, and like you said, they can go for the off-tank Batiste as well. They will settle for that Batiste. I guess it's a decent pickup going up against Lance. When Lance tries to come in onto your team with that Impale, you can ordain him, and that distance that he has to jump kind of does offset, or rather stuns him out of that Impale, and they will settle for that Scarf. So we will be seeing that off-tank Batiste that carry Glaive, and of course the Scarf as the crystal carry, the crystal jungler, or maybe the carry even. But as for the side of Brenchong, they can just go for that cruel at this point in time, like you say. But then again, the side of Elite 8, they have got a team comm that works very well into that cruel, and thus Brenchong will settle for that Idris.
Yeah, they basically made it so that Elite 8 made it so that if Brenchong decided to go for their Celeste Cruel combination, that they were just countered so hard. Scarf does really well against Cruel. Batiste, as a captain, does fantastic. If Batiste is a carry, Cruel actually does really well against him. The weakness stacks stop Batiste doing work. And Batiste is horrible at stopping you engaging on him, but Batiste is fantastic at stopping you engaging on a squishy like Scarf. So now what Brenchong has gone, okay, you've picked well, we can't pick Cruel. Lane Glaive is good against Idris, but we're still comfortable that our Idris is good enough to beat your Lane Glaive. And if it gets to late game, I would be tempted to say that I think Brenchong will have the upper hand if they're even in gold, even in objectives, because they have got the Idris and Celeste, whereas Weapon Glaive isn't as good as Idris in the late game, and Celeste and Scarf are very similar.
Yep, I must agree with you on that, but we saw how Elite 8 really favors that early game, and thus, I mean, they have a very good comm going out for them. That is something that both of us cannot deny. They have got the Batiste, they have got the Scarf as well, and on top of that, they have that Glaive, and if so, they will, put this comp out like how Inex pull this comp out, then they will place that Glaive in that of the jungle, and of course with that
maybe.
Scarf in lane. That way they have got the lane advantage. On top of that, they have got the damage and the items for Scarf as well. But as we can see from the lobby itself, we will be seeing Hanjega to be placed in lane, and of course Official Hind on that Scarf. Oh wait, maybe Official Hind on the Scarf will just go into the jungle because he is the dedicated jungler after all. So at the end of it all, it is just down to execution coming up from both sides. If the side of Elite 8 will pull out the same rotation, then it might not work as well for them, because now the side of Brenchong, they have got a Celeste, they have got a stun as well, and if you allow an Idris to farm freely in that of lane, then he might be very, very fed up in that of the late game, and you might see some trouble for yourself.
Yes, we are now into the house to unfold for the second game. And I would agree with you that I think Scarf should go into lane in most scenarios in this kind of comp, because you have a Glaive who can then rotate through the jungle and gank the laner. But up against a lane Idris, I much prefer to see a lane Glaive. Weapon Glaive does fantastic against Idris. He can really start a snowball and force Idris being unable to farm up effectively. So I do like Hunyega's going onto this lane Glaive. Mr. Jim sneaking away that Elder Treant and the fronts as well, just to make sure that gold is got. And now I think it's very likely we're going to see Brenchong rotate as 3 up to lane. They come with the boots to stop the wave going over the turret. That's very nice of the captain to make sure that his carry can get as much gold as possible.
Yep, there is one thing though, Elite 8 rotating slowly but surely into the jungle of the side of Brenchong, and this is the kind of aggression that is always expected from Brenchong, both of them level 2 right now.
I think one going to be caught out by the end, double stun for the 5-bit core clap, but it won't be enough. First blood to the Scarf, and now Official Hind is waiting for those back to the spawn. Think1 wanted to face check the bush and see, oh, I wonder if they're in here. Before he could even get there, he realised, oh, yes, they are. I'm now in a bad position. And Official Hind, that's actually a really smart goop placement, and because if Celeste wants to try and catch him out, you'd have to walk through the goop, even though it wasn't ignited. So I don't think it was intentional. I think he did that for quicker clear speed, but it worked out. And with Sync1, a bit late on that Helio, but he will not be caught out. Scarf wanted to get his own jungle, and Hunyega's extremely low in lane. With the double invade by Elite 8 in the jungle, that means that Hunyega's is really struggling to farm up with the Chakram and with the Impale. But he will be alright under turret, I think. Brenchong are going to try and make it as hard as possible for him. If they get a kill now, that's massive. That's a massive wave that Hunyega's loses if he does die. And so he's going to try and sustain for as long as possible. Turret's just doing turret things on Dead Hunt. That's interesting.
That is interesting indeed, but Elite 8, they will go on to Mr. Jim, but an Impale will come out onto Official High to stop any form of further engagement coming up from the side of Elite 8. Very interesting turret laser pointing there, thingy thing there. Well, at least it helped Han Jaeger to secure some farm because
it did. It really did help. I think Lance should have just tried to back off instead of trying to keep close to the turret range, because Han Jaeger's managed to get pretty much all of that wave. You see, he's on 25 CS to Mr. Jim's only 18, maybe 21 after this wave. We get 21 now. So that's pretty good for Hun Jaeger's, even though he was pressured so hard. He wasn't unable to farm, and now Scarf's going to actually try and get the gun Celeste, but will not be able to. Sync1 able to turn that around, and Dead Hunt picking up the kill. Very good for Brenchong. They want to be able to get to that late game as quick as possible when they probably will have the advantage. And Anime Save Me shouldn't be able to steal this. Dead Hunt should stop it, and he will. So Dead Hunt manages to secure that LG.
Yeah, but the problem with that, just now that fight, at least when Official Hein and both Official Hein and Anime Save Me was in there, was that Anime Save Me laid down the Ordain on Sync1. Problem with that, Sync1 is a mage, just want to fight within that Ordain itself, don't want to go anywhere, and Official Hein just did not have that early reflex block and was just too close to, Sync1 at least, and allowed Sync1 to just land that core collapse on him and thus taking him down. Although we do see the Elite 8 now moving on to lane.
There's going to be the afterburn. Scarf easily able to pick up the kill onto Dead Hunt. He wasn't really out of position, but Hun Jaeger's just with a really good afterburn to get him into that goop, get him into that Scarf, but easily pick up the kill. Now we have Mr. Jim wanting to push the wave, whereas Sync1 is now rotated up to lane. So Elite 8 aren't going to be able to pressure that hard, and Mr. Jim going to port home, get his Sora Blade. Actually can't quite afford it, so he hasn't got diversion paths unlocked just yet. Hun Jaeger's going to rotate down. We haven't seen the same rotation from Elite 8, predominantly because Celeste has been staying in jungle, mostly by herself, and Idris has been staying in lane, similarly with Glaive. So they haven't been able to stay as three, farm the jungle together, up to lane, push it, and then down to the sentry. And they haven't really done that yet.
Yep, and honestly, coming into this comp, they don't really have to quite do it as well, because there is always a threat that Idris can just outpush and be outfarm, can outfarm that of Han Jaeger in the lane. And on top of that as well, it's that if Celeste rotate up into lane when you guys are rotating into her jungle, what the problem they see, or rather the side of Elite 8 can see and foresee, is that Celeste can easily push down the turret. So that is why they are very, they're playing more safe at this point in time and not just opting for that old rotations that they did in the previous game.
There's going to be the Ordain onto Mr. Jim. That's going to expire before he gets the stun off, and now Elite 8 could be trying to push the wave, but all the members of Brenchong are in lane, so they're going to be unable to.
Wow.
312 Spitfire Goop combo on Mr. Jim. That forces support home. Good minion candy by Dead Hunt to try and stop Elite 8 pushing this turret, and you can see Official Hein, he wants to do it. There's the minion candy. Elite 8 are going for it, and what can Brenchong do? The answer is nothing. They will lose their sentry for one life. Scarf is so good. Look at that sentry just burn down almost to nothing now, and Dead Hunt misses the impale of the wall. Idris, this is another good way to counter rotation, is go to their jungle, but he was spread out by a scout trap, so now Mr. Jim knows he's in trouble. He knows that the members of Elite 8 are going to come back. Hun Jaeger's actually, I think, bootsing for that. He bought up some boots and used them. Now Mr. Jim in a poor position. Hun Jaeger's gets the minion. Now Mr. Jim will be dead. There is no escape from Mr. Batiste and Scarf. So yeah, still in their jungle, I guess it's not the worst rotation, but they had vision, so you were just unable to do that, and now Elite 8 going to rotate back up to lane, wanting to push the wave pretty soon and then rotate to sentry when it does respawn.
Yep, I mean, that is the best way, or rather the best thing about the rotation is that as long as you have got vision, there is nothing much that Brenchong can do. And on top of that, with the pushing capabilities of Scarf, even much more, I dare say, much more than that of Celeste. Celeste, you land your Helios, it doesn't do consistent damage over time, whereas for Scarf, you do, especially with that group of yours, and your burn damage is just insane, as well as we do see that Han going very, very low.
And if they do rotate down to the jungle to try and stop you taking the sentry, you can just push the turret, and Scarf will be fantastic at that as well. Ordained onto Mr. Jim, he's just going to back off. Anime Safety has got a couple of minion candies in the pocket, going to put them on this wave probably after they clear it. And Elite 8 looking to rotate down. Actually, they are going to rotate as two. Now Brenchong cleared that wave very quickly. Will they get to the sentry in time? The answer would be yes. And so Elite 8 just going to back off. Dead Hunt sneaking away the tree. And that's another thing with this rotation. If you don't manage to push the wave in time, that's fine. Just back off. You don't have to take the sentry. But if you're much quicker than the enemy, that means you will get a 3 sentry life.
Yeah, but Sync1 was there in lane to help the side of a Brenchong push that wave as well. So I'm not surprised why they did manage to push the wave in time to just rotate down to catch that of Elite 8 off when they were rotating into the jungle. But very good play coming up from the side of Brenchong, just adapting to the strats that's, Elite 8 is pulling out.
We're going to go a little bit of pressure. That's not Ordained onto Mr. Jim. He pops his infusion. That's the fearsome shade not quite connecting. Mr. Jim going very low after Ben, but where is his risk? He's gone into Shimmer Strike inside Sync1. And now Mr. Jim going to do a little bit of poke. Fountain was forced out by Elite 8. And Official Hine is going very low. Then comes this wave. Good minion candy. Always minion candy a wave if you're fighting a lane. That gives you considerable more damage than the enemy. And now Enemy Save Me is going to try and defend this turret. Official Hine's very low. And Hunyeg doesn't want to go too deep. And they're going to try and clear this wave as quick as possible with the Scarf Goop. Wave will go down. Official Hine very low. So is Anime Save Me. Mr. Jim's going to dive on the turret. This makes sense. He probably can pick up a double kill if he really gets it. Mr. Jim's going to fall. Jacqueline does manage to connect just barely with the Scarf. Now Anime Save Me wants to save Hunyegers. Will it be enough? Sync1 lovely ordained by Anime Save Me. Sync1 is not under turret, so Anime Save Me will have to back off. And that is a positive trade for Brenchong.
Yeah,
also, almost dead to the scout trap.
Yeah, positive indeed, but honestly, the side of Elite 8 not playing as well as previous game, they're kind of sloppy in terms of their rotations, firstly, and targeting as well. They were sloppy. They allowed Sync1 to just poke them down before they just went in for that fight, and thus the side of Brenchong could have had the upper hand in that fight as well. And Mr. Jim, being an Idris, you can just go into the back lines, remove Official Hine from the equation, and Anime Save Me, as we all know, as an off tank, you're not exactly super tanky as compared to that of Lance, if not then Grace, and you cannot quite just hold the front lines that your allies, your enemies are doing, and that is just the main difference, or one of the main.
There goes the minion candy by for Anime Save Me, try and help Elite 8 with this fight. Hunyeg is extremely low from the little bit of poke, which also is doing lots of damage to Mr. Jim now. Wow, don't stand inside that goop, it's going to hurt you a lot. Scarf Shatterglass first, really wanting to just get pure damage. You don't need CC because Scarf wants to also help push the wave, and so you don't need to use Frostburn on minions, just pure Shatterglass to try and clear that as quick as possible. Hunyeg is back now, full health. Ordained on Sync1, he echoed the Ordained. So Fearsome Shade is up, he's going to use it onto Dead Hunt. He's going to fear back Celeste, it's not quite enough, Fountain will save her life. So Ordained, the fear is up again, Echo was used on Ordained, unfortunately. And so now Elite 8 going to push the wave, and they're going to try and do the rotation again. Good impale from Dead Hunt, force a fight, Visual High, very low, Shimmer Strike picks up the kill, Sync1 on the back line, he's going to, Hunyegers blocks up the cork, that's fantastic play. But now he's going to try and afterburn away. Mr. Jim wants to dive in. He will block the afterburn. Mr. Jim with the double. Can he get the triple? It's Anime Save Me has absolutely nothing. Ordained isn't even up it for 3 seconds. But Mr. Jim misses the chakram. And now he's going to tank one turret. He should be okay. Dead Hunt would die to the Crystal Sentry, but there is no vision. So he'll be able to port home. Anime Save Me preventing the ace and preventing any real objectives being taken.
Yep, once again, very sloppy rotation, or rather, very sloppy team fight coming up from the side of 8. They have better coordination in terms of that Fearsome Shade, and on top of that, Ordained and Scarf Dragon's Breath, they would have probably scored 2 kills on into that of Brenchong, but because the Fearsome Shade kind of allowed the entirety of Brenchong just back away into safety for the re-engage. But honestly, I must commend Dead Hunt on this Lance as well, playing just very, very well, just landing all of those impales.
There's a good Ordained by Anime Save Me, so Dead Hunt will not land his impale this time. And we're seeing so much lane focus. This game is literally, it's like a battle royale with the Crystal Sentry involved. Everyone's just constantly in lane, rotate to jungle for shop, and then straight back up to try and either defend their first turret, because both teams know if they lose their first turret, they will lose their sentry very quickly. And that's going to be another Ordained by Anime Save Me. Just echo that. Idris with the double, so much damage. He wants to get the triple. This time, I don't see Anime Save Me being able to get away. The Fountain isn't enough. Triple for Idris, and Brenchong dealing so much damage. Idris with the blaze.
Yep, so much damage indeed. And what do you think? I mean, I understand that the team comp coming out from the side of Elite 8 really just wants to isolate one member from the side of Brenchong. Problem with that is that they just cannot quite find it, and if they do go in, then it immediately is taken out by Mr. Jim. If not, then Sync 1 on that Celeste, as we did see a Solar Storm, a very massive one, going through the entirety of Elite 8, and just they have got no answer whatsoever. As I was saying as well, Scarf is so strong in that early game. We saw the amount of damage coming from Scarf with Spitfire and good combination, but come into this late game 13 minutes in, or rather mid game 13 minutes in, Celeste just seems so much stronger, and although you have got a lot of CC on your team for the side of Elite 8, they just cannot quite chain it and be coordinated with it, whereas for Lance, it's a one-man chain of CCs.
He has to land that impale, then he has to get an extra wall for the Githian walls to actually land a stun. Hunjager's maybe out of position. He's not with the rest of his team, and Brenchong are waiting in the bush. He knows the hunt there, so he's going to back off and be careful. Brenchong also know that Glaive isn't there, but now he's got the back line. He's going to get the afterburn on Sync 1. Block doesn't quite connect, and the Ordain does land the stun. The awesome fearsome shade. Sync 1 is going to fall. Here's the Dragon's Breath. Scarf going in. Loads of damage, but Mr. Jim blocked quite a lot of it with that Shimmer Strike. Now he's going to fall, and now it's Dead Hunt trying to run away. Afterburn out of the goop, but he is going to just troll a little bit, see how long he can run for, but I don't think it'll be that much. Dead Hunt is going to fall to the Scarf. That is an ace for Elite 8, will be a turret and probably a sentry.
Yep, and that is a very good fight then, coming out from the side of Elite 8, not just being very coordinated then, and this is the power of that Glaive and Baptiste combo we've seen a lot as well. It's just that if you can chain those CCs together, your Fearsome Shade or your Ordain into that Afterburn, if not then Afterburn into Ordain, then you can definitely immediately eliminate one member of the enemy team, and then you definitely will have the numbers or rather the advantage in numbers then, and you can proceed to move on to the next target. And in this case, Sync 1 in the particular fight was taken out so early in that fight that Mr. Jim just struggles and have to carry the entirety of his team. So that is something that Elite 8 did very well, just isolating Celeste, because Celeste really just do not have the mobility like that of Mr. Jim on that Idris, and just capitalizing and taking advantage of that. Just very well played coming up from the side of Elite 8.
Yeah, definitely. The afterburn was on point, and then once they tried to block it, it didn't quite come through. The Baptiste Ordain just kept Celeste in place, and the Fearsome Shade was used spectacularly to make Sync 1 pretty much impossible to escape. Now, we haven't actually seen an Echo Fearsome Shade yet, and Fernando Save Me hasn't actually used it on that. Dead Hunt going to roll to dodge the Spitfire. Now, they've only taken one sentry, so the rotation they tried just hasn't worked out this game. They now need to fight much more like a late game team fight, where they get kills, they go for turrets and Kraken instead of just going for what seems like an unimportant sentry at this point. Because team fights, if they're going to go towards sentry, you either back off and take Kraken, or you dive under sentry to get the ace.
Yep, definitely. But at this point in time, we saw in the previous game they enjoy picking up fights in the jungle of Brenchong, but in this particular game itself, they can't quite do it, and thus they're putting a lot of emphasis in that of lane. We do see all three members of Elite 8 all in lane as well. Glaive is nowhere to be found. Mr. Jim in the spot that's rather dangerous.
Sync 1 trying to stay away from Jaegers, and the afterburn doesn't quite connect, so he's in a bad position now. Got to go for Idris. Mr. Jim falling very low. Afterburn hunt back Sync 1. I think that was out of the Solar Storm. Sync 1 was channeling up his ultimate, but he got afterburned out of it. Glaive with the plays, and now Mr. Jim going very low. He can't go through that goop because he would almost die. And now Visual Pine is going to try and Dragon's Breath. That's very risky. He's going in. Solar Core Collapse. Going to stun you out of it. Back off. And Glaive's going in. Now onto Mr. Jim. Gets one kill. He wants to go on to Sync 1. Can he get the second? Looks like he won't, and no, he won't. The Scarf is too low to try and help him. One kill traded both ways. I think the Glaive diving was kind of worth it. He picked up Idris, couldn't get Celeste, but that's an even trade for both teams.
It is rather even all throughout, but their target really is Sync 1. Excellent afterburn though, I must say, coming up from Hanjager on that Glaive to stun the Solar Storm out of stun Celeste out of a Solar Storm. So very good play coming out from Hanjager. But I personally think that Glaive camping up in the top spot and then initiating wasn't quite coordinated yet because the team was just too far away. There were no other follow-up coming out from the side of Elite 8, and thus that's why they couldn't clear up the entirety of Brenchong. But coming into the next fight, as long as they can be more coordinated, and like I said, I've been going on about this. The side of Elite 8 has to be very coordinated in terms of the team fight because a lot of their CCs displays the movement and the position of the enemy team. Like we have Ordain, yeah, and then we have Fearsome Shade that can push the team. If you echo your Ordain and put Ordain on both carries and Fearsome Shade them out of it, right? So both carries get stunned, and then Glade will have free will as to choose who to punt into the team itself and who will be the first target to lock down. But then we have to understand as well that Han is constantly on the hunt.
Maybe caught out. Yeah, Dead Hunt's trying to find someone, trying to find an impale, trying to get onto that official hive to let his carries deal as much damage as possible. But Jaegers wants to find an afterburn. Good shackling from Mr. Chip, dealing a lot of damage, and now Brenchong are just trying to push the wave. They could rotate to Kraken, it'd be risky. Elite 8 are just going to come and try and contest it. And now both teams are going to back off, so not much going to happen.
Yep, rather peculiar overdriving of skills coming up from Anime Save Me with Bad Mojo and of course that of Ordain overdriven instead of Fearsome Shade. Oh, another fight will be happening.
Be a fight under Sentry. Good block from Mr. Jim, blocking the afterburn stun. Easy picks up the kill onto official high. MVP nowhere near enough. Save afterburn in 3 seconds. He will get over the wall, just barely getting away. Not quite. Idris gets the kill. Now Anime Save Me left alone. 3 Sentry for Brenchong. And apparently the MVP wasn't the turning point in that fight. And Brenchong were 3v2, and so I think that was the main problem. Official Heim got jumped on. There was no CC to save him because Anime Save Me wasn't there. So the afterburn from Glade just couldn't. It tried to stun out Mr. Jim, but he just blocked it. And now here's the Fearsome Shade. It's available. Mr. Jim, see, this is how you make sure that your team's as good as the Kraken. As soon as you see the enemy, dive on them and try and kill them. What's the Batista going to do to steal it? Absolutely nothing, because Idris dived in to try and kill it.
Yep, I mean, trying to scare them off is pretty much is good enough, especially since there's a roam that's trying to come and steal the Kraken, so you can just immediately jump on him, give up Kraken for a little bit, because if you do take out one member, then you can assure yourself that it is a confirmed Kraken taken. So the side of Brenchong now looking very strong, hoping to push this turret down and hoping to crack open the base of Elite 8 as well, with that Kraken just ramping down, or rather just strutting down that Isle of Halcyon foe.
And then Celeste's going to try and push this turret. Scarf has fantastic back there. MVP is going to join the fight. No, he's not. He's had enough of you. He's just going to back off. And Jaeger's very low. Going to have to up away. This Kraken is still extremely healthy. There's the Impale going to land onto Anime Save Me. He's now going to have to back off. Solar Storm going to connect. Anime Save Me now is back into the Sanctuary. Look at those Helios. So many from Celeste. Official Hine has got the goop onto the Kraken, trying to do as much damage as possible. Good afterburn. Sigmund's out of position. He's going to block out the Ordained. It won't be enough. Batiste picks up that kill. Official Hine going on to Mr. Jim. Lovely Simmer Strike gets on top of him. Official Hine needs to get into the Sanctuary. And the Fear was blocked. That was massive. He would have gone into the base if not. And now that is going to be Mr. Jim not quite falling. Jaegers, what are you doing? Just go there to the Blood Song to actually pick up the kill. Now Death Hunt is going to try and do as much as he can. The Echo on the Githian wall for BM. Ace for Elite 8, but their base is exposed.
Yep, the base is exposed, and you have both Idris and, of course, that of Lance that can dive through. Idris can shot step in if you know the walls to jump. If not, then at least, or you can just strike into your Lance.
I don't think Idris can actually go over that wall from that way. I know he can do it the other way.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. So yeah, maybe that's the case. But I know Lance can go through the wall that way, so you can just Shimmer Strike onto Lance. Just let Lance piggyback you in. But wow, the amount of damage, and of course the amount of objectives that the side of Elite 8 went through just because of one ace and a misplay coming out from the side of Brenchong. I'll not say it's a lot of misplays, but it's more like the tunnel vision of going in, of trying to end the game, and of course secure kills while you're at it, that has just clouded the judgment in that particular team fight, and thus Elite 8 could come out on top of that. But on top of that, but really honestly, it was just Brenchong though capitalizing on the small mistake that Sentry fight was what that allowed Brenchong to come this far and push this far. So as long as the entirety of Elite 8 sticks together, knows how to chain the CC well, then they definitely would have this game in their pockets. Brenchong, or rather Zed Hunt on that lance, may be in trouble right now. Mr. Jim as well on half health, so it's a very good time for the side of Elite 8 to fight. If not, then try to secure this Kraken. But if they are going to do so, the side...
Where is Mr. Jim? What's he doing? Is he going for the back door? No, he's going to port. Oh, it's extremely boring. I think they again they could just push the wave, and then that forces Elite 8 to either respond or possibly just lose the game. So Elite 8, they need more vision. Anime saved me. I think he should sell his flares for now, or the flare and the bad mojo in the off, and didn't catch out Mr. Jim. So now they caught Idris porting. This is going to be a Kraken started up by Elite 8, but they don't want to go too deep. I think Anime Saving should, at the moment, sell his flares, buy a couple more scout traps, pop them down, then go back to shop and buy flares, because you currently have such little vision. If it just does go for the back door, you're going to know a little bit too late. And so Elite 8 going to almost be caught out by the Impale. Official Hind is okay. Now Jaegers is split from his team, he's got an afterburn, so he'll be able to get with them. And now if Brenchong take this Kraken, I think Elite 8 have to kill it. I don't think Elite 8 can just push the win if they get the kill, and they have no idea. The Fist Shade is not in time, and that will be secure by Idris. They're going for the water. Elite 8 wants to fight. Ordained onto Idris. Elite 8 going up towards Mr. Jim, and Official Heim will be impaled. And the afterburn gets a minion. Mr. Jim does manage to block the Ordained. Napunyega's is in a bad position. Scarf with the group, and now Elite 8 going for the Kraken. Kraken will die very quickly to the Scarf, even though she is walking down the lane, so we'll walk out of the group pretty quickly. Now Elite 8 going to try and burn this Kraken down. Brenchong need to either fight or they will just get nothing out of this. The Pale lands on the Scarf. There's the one stun. There's the two stun. By the last, and Sync 1 is going to block. Not out the Ordained. There's the second Ordained. What are you going to do? Sync 1's going to fall. Idris, he's going for the back door. Glaive's going to be able to port home. Scarf will most certainly not. What are you going to do, Elite 8? Idris is already at your Vein Crystal. Mr. Jim will be able to Shimmer Strike into Glaive if he actually wants to. And he will. There he goes. Jaegers does get the kill. Gets the Vein first. Well played to Brenchong. And that is game 2 going over to them.
But I mean, even that at the end of it all, if the side, if Glaive did not kill that of, say, who's that? Mr. Jim on that Idris, then the Kraken would have probably just pushed in anyway. So very well played coming out from the side of Elite 8, or rather from the side of Brenchong. And like I said earlier on, Lance is just such a valuable pickup from Brenchong, especially since, but I mean honestly, in the first game, not much of a performance from that Lance, but in this second game, we saw the utilities and of course the amount of CCs that Lance brings to the table, and it's not nothing, it's nothing to just call shot off that, you know, Catherine can bring to the table.
Yeah, I think it was much better from Brenchong. I think Elite 8 tried to do the same rotation for the first game and tried to catch out Brenchong a second game in a row. That's not going to happen. If they're expecting it after the first game, they'll be ready for it. They'll have thought, okay, how do we counter this? The answer, whenever they try to push wave and rotate down, we take a fight. We just try and absolutely kill them. And so what they did is when you thought, okay, Scarf and Idris are pushing, we know, so Scarf and Glaive are pushing, we know they want to rotate down to our sentry. They either forced a fight so that they couldn't rotate, or just cleared the wave just as quickly. And then once it got towards late game, Elite 8 didn't really know what to do. They were expecting an early game snowball. Then once it got to the point where you'd expect Scarf to be stronger, as I said at the start of the draft, Idris and Celeste is just better than Glaive Scarf as a combination once it gets into the late game, because Glaive really becomes just an afterburn at that point. His damage is there, but it's not ever going to burst you down. He has to be consistently on top of you, which is really hard to do against the Lance.
That Lance pickup really valuable for the side of Brenchong that we've seen so far. Both games picking up that Lance. They must just be very comfortable on that. And Elite 8 can try to capitalize on that, take up opportunities, ban out that Lance in that first phase.
Yeah, we are into the draft for the third game. I would agree, and I'd expect to see a Lance banned. And they're going to go for Catherine. We know that Brenchong just ban Catherine all the time. It's one of their favourite heroes. I think they should have maybe switched their draft up for this one, so they didn't actually. They should have banned Lance when they went for the Catherine. Lara ban makes a lot of sense from Elite 8. That's what we saw. It's very similar to what we saw in the first draft, where we saw Lyra, Catherine. I don't think that Brenchong should go with the first draft and pick the Baron. That would be a mistake, I think. So they should just go something like a Grace, maybe a Batiste or Glaive. Just give themselves some flexibility. Yeah, they're going to pick the Grace, and now Elite 8 a bit stuck on what captain to pick. They're probably just going to get their Batiste.
Yeah, Batiste is a very good pickup right now for the teams, at least, because I mean, although we did see though Batiste not performing quite well for the side of Elite 8 in the previous game, very not coordinated, but we do see that Lance once again being picked up, and
Yeah,
very
Lance,
good pickup, honestly.
Lance very important at the moment. He didn't see any buffs at all. He's just quite a priority for these two teams. So with the Lance pick, there's nothing they really need to ban. We've seen a lot of Celeste bans, so they might go for that, but maybe they just want to pick Celeste themselves, and they're going to ban Idris. We didn't see much Idris played in previous games. He had a bit more of an emphasis between these two teams. So I think Idris ban makes a lot of sense, and I'd like to see Brenchong ban away the Celeste. They're going to ban the Batiste, and yeah, that gives a free Celeste to Elite 8 to pick.
Well, I think Brenchong is on the blue side right now, and Elite 8 is on the red side. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, so Elite 8 picks up the Celeste.
Yep, there you go. Brenchong versus Elite 8. Elite 8 Brenchong. I think Brenchong picked up this. Yeah, correct. Brenchong picked up the Celeste and the Lance as well, and removed that of Idris, which was, although you said that it wasn't. We didn't see quite a lot of it, but in the previous game itself, Idris put up quite a performance for the side of Brenchong, just pushing the side of Elite 8 back, especially since Elite 8 picked up the Grace.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Baron and Black Feather comp, it's risky. We know that Baron, it didn't work for Brenchong in the last game, and Brenchong are definitely A-side. This is the third game, so they're back to what they started on. So I think the Crystal Black Feather's all right against Celeste. Celeste can definitely outpoke Crystal Black Feather, but once it gets into late game, I think there's not much that Elite 8 could pick to try and get there. Elite 8 love to play Celeste. They're all right on Kestrel. We haven't seen that much Kestrel, but it really did work out for them before, and so I think that they're going to be pretty happy with the Celeste Kestrel. We've seen that comp in other games where you have the two snipers, and so you can get that global double ultimate, which would be quite interesting. And I think it will work well against the Baron. I think Baron's not that good against sub heroes like Kestrel and Celeste, so I favour Elite 8 for this draft.
Definitely, I must agree with you as well. Brenchong did pick up that Baron for the first game. Rather similar bans or rather similar picks throughout. But honestly, that Baron did not quite shine through even that of the late game, because that Vox or rather the side of Elite 8 just went through with that rotation. What do you call that rotation? The sentry rotation. Let's just call it that. That particular sentry rotation, and then was able to just outplay that of Brenchong, who is on that Baron, who needs to farm up for the late game as well. And they can really just utilize the rotation in this particular game, honestly, because Baron just do not have the firepower in that early game as well. And on top of that, they have got a Celeste, they have got a Kestrel, very strong in that early game. And on top of that, round of the comp, they have got the Lance to provide that route. If not, then impale against a wall, not impale against a wall, Githian the enemies against the wall, stunning them out as well. So very good draft coming up from the side of Elite 8, especially like the Lance pickup, just to starve it away from the side of Brenchong.
Yeah, and I think the decision that they've gone for Celeste and Kestrel means they'll be really good at actually pressuring in the lane early on. Because one of the problems with what they tried to do with their rotation was they couldn't pressure the lane, and they were just countered. Obviously, Scarf is great at pushing minions, but so is pushing, and so they were actually unable to get that sentry rotation because they couldn't push the wave as effectively as they might want to.
Definitely. But again, we saw, the side of Brenchong really mechanically skilled as well on that Lance. And if they can work as a team, be coordinated, they can definitely pull their team comp out, team comp off at least. They just need to wait for that Baron to go into the late game, and on top of that, that CP Blackfeather will scale up as well. CP Blackfeather, honestly, you just need to pick up the initial Shatter Glass. If not, then if you can apply a lot of pressure in lane, then you definitely will have that early game, because I mean, honestly, at level 8, you do not outpoke that Celeste, but in the early game, you will have more damage as compared to the Celeste with your on point, whereas Celeste has to land that Supernova onto you, which you can easily dodge since you're so very mobile with your Faint of Hearts. And of course, the health barrier that's provided to you when you have got that on point up.
Yeah, when Celeste tries to land those Helios, she is standing still for the period of time while casting, so that gives a really easy on point for Blackfeather, and then if she's trying to make her Helio go Supernova, he gets that health barrier. As you said, it pretty much negates the extra damage Celeste has. So I think early game CP Blackfeather, you don't tend to see a lot of invades, but it will be quite important to stop this Celeste Kestrel being able to do that sentry rotation and take it out. If they take out all 3 sentry lives before 10 minutes in, then there won't be a lot that Brenchong can do, because the Baron will just won't be able to ramp up. We are now into the Halcyon Fold, and both teams probably going to start with quite a defensive rotation. I wouldn't expect to see Celeste or Blackfeather going in aggressive.
Definitely. They just need their items as of now. They want to play very aggressively before they get the items. It will be rather sad if, once again, Mr. Jim will be fed up again, because honestly, that didn't quite work for them in that of the first game. So good thinking for the side of Brenchong, not just feeding Mr. Jim everything, realizing that Sync 1 can put equal pressure if the farm is shared throughout. However, they are not gonna vie for that Elder Treant so far, allowing E8 to just take that Treant, although Sync 1 maybe going for that steal, but unfortunately not quite hitting that on point onto that Treant. Han Jaeger though in lane up against that Han, maybe in a tough spot. Call collapse from Official Hind do come out, but no kills to be traded 1 minute in as of yet. So honestly, both of these teams playing very defensively. I mean, they should respect the powers coming out from each other, but Mr. Jim at this point in time may be losing a lot of farm under this turret.
So that is quite a big wave that's been pushed up. Grace is trying to help him out, but Baron is just really poor at clearing waves like that under turret, because when he attacks 1 minion, it splashes onto the rest of them, which he doesn't want. Anime Save Me, going to steal away the fronts. Will he get them? Yes, he will. So Sync 1 a little bit far behind. Celeste and Kestrel farming the rats together. That's a really smart idea from Elite 8, is if you want your carry to rotate down to lane to get ambient with your jungler, that obviously means your captain will be late to their fountain because they don't have the ambient gold. So what they did was they just made Lance go in against Blackfeather and just take away his front, and Blackfeather somehow managed to secure that minion with just a basic attack. I think Elite were a bit late. Dead Hunt going to get pushed into the wall, probably Impale could land, but a good rotation from Mr. Jim to try and save Dead Hunt. Dead Hunt dodging the core collapse nicely. Now seeing quite diving onto Anime Save Me, and with a lovely Gideon wall back into the wall, pushing you away and stun. Now Vendega's just going to push the wave and then probably not want to go too aggressive just in case Blackfeather is waiting.
Yep, and there is one more thing that we note as well. It's that Mr. Jim, although we do say that Baron generally is not very good in that of the early game, but he doesn't rely a lot on skill shots, whereas that of Castro really needs to land those glimmers. Else, Mr. Jim will definitely put up more damage with those kaboom! And of course, those basic attacks as well coming up from Mr. Jim, as we did see just now when Mr. Jim rotated down to just help out his team, and Official Hind got taken down very low with 2 basic attacks. So that is one thing that, honestly, the side of Elite 8 has to think about when going in for the engagement. It is their positioning, because Mr. Jim can just jump jets in and then just deal out and lash out a lot of damage, and they'll do miss onto Mr. Jim, one of the slowest hero on the foe.
Yeah, the Impale not quite connecting, and so Mr. Jim will be able to farm this wave under turret reasonably well. Dead Hunt going in against Official Hind with Jaeger's. Impale does now land Mr. Jim. Brenchong just trying to defend this turret. There's no minion candy. There's a lot of raw weapon power and crystal power on Elite 8. 3 crystal bits and 3 weapon blades means that they really are good at the early game damage. Look at that turret. It's already down to only about 1/3 health. Now, with 4 minutes in, Sentry has just spawned, but it's not quite there for Elite 8 to get. They want to do the rotation. They want to push this wave, get the sentry, and Lance rotate down shot to get around him. So Elite 8 trying to push the wave, but Brenchong know exactly what's up. They're trying to clear it. Sync1 taking a bit of hope. Lovely stun. Gideon Wall making sure that Sync1 was also in the stun. Now Elite 8 are unable to get that sentry rotation because Celeste wants to port home. That will just be another wave pushed, but I think Jaegers probably will just port home to pick up the Solar Blade and won't actually go back down for the sentry.
Yep, yeah, Anime saved me. Yep, but Anime saved me though, just sitting on that old card, and of course Iron Guard contract really needs to get the fountain, which he'll be able to now. And on top of that, a boot as well. A boot to boot. Okay, but anyways, so they are unable to perform that rotation of theirs, but honestly, if they keep up this aggression, we saw the amount of health that the turret has is left with. So if they continue with the early game aggression or the aggression being in lane, granted, they will risk the farm wise for Official Hein at least as a jungler, but you are forcing the entirety of Brenchong up onto lane as well. So I guess at the end of the day, it's quite worth it, especially if you can push this turret down.
Massive minion candy on so many minions. I don't think Brenchong can really try and fight this unless they take the minions out first. I'm going to go in and turret rotate. He is very low. Lovely ball collapse on Sync1. Turret is going low, so that's going to get a supernova from Jaegers. Glimmer shot's not landing on the turret, landing on Mr. Jim instead. He's going very low. Solar Storm connecting onto Mr. Jim, and now Lance trying to help push this wave up. Official Hein is level 6, Sync1 is only level 5. Elite 8 really want to get this turret. Can Brenchong defend it? I do not think so. Kestrel with the glimmers. One more basic would get the turret, and that is a stun onto Baron. He manages to jump this away anyway. Now Elite 8, they've got that first turret. That gives them control over this defunct jungle of Brenchong, which is absolutely massive for them. I don't think Brenchong are going to try and contest this sentry because Elite 8 doesn't look like they want to take it. They're all a bit low.
Yep, and one more thing as well, the team coming out from the side of Brenchong, just a tad too late game, to be honest. If you have got that early game jungler, at least you can kind of even out and offset the late game potential and just ease that Baron into that late game when he can get his items. But for now, when both Sync1 on that CP Black Feather, and of course that of Mr. Jim on that Baron is unable to do so in the early game, because in the early game Han Jaeger and of course Official Hein on their respective heroes are just so much stronger at the end of it all, and they only get stronger into that of the late game. So that is one thing that Brenchong has to consider going into draft. Yet again, they fall onto the same mistake picking up that Baron, although it didn't quite work out for them in that first game.
Yeah, I think they're trying to... The Baron was an all-right decision. I don't think it was the best decision, but maybe Brenchong are confident that it will work out for them if they get towards the late game. Kestrel trying to push this wave up. Deadhunt taking a little bit of hope, a couple of glimmer shots, and now Elite 8 trying to push this wave. Minion Candy will be used, and Elite 8 lots of damage on the turret. Iron Cannon going to come down, but Jaegers taking a little bit of hope from Deadhunt. Celeste bringing it back. Lovely double impale. No wall to give you all them into, and now there is, if he wants to land it, not quite going to do so. And now Elite 8 could either rotate for a gold mine crystal sentry or try and get more damage on this turret, and they're going to go for the turret. They really want to push this wave. Celeste with an infusion has now been popped, and Sync1 has not got a tier 3 item. It's a good time for Elite 8 to fight. Jaegers going low, forces the fountain. Sync1 diving in on Official Hein, dodges the core collapse, does not dodge the root, so the storm a bit wide. Now Elite 8 cannot push this wave. They're just going to rotate back, go to their jungle, farm up together, and try and get another slightly more favourable team fight.
Would it be too bold of a statement to say that Anime Save Me is just not very comfortable on this Lance?
I do agree. I think he doesn't look like it's one of his comfort heroes. The Impales are there, but they're not at the right time, or they're not on the right hero, and they're not when his team is with him ready to go in. It's more just he'll get an Impale on Baron, and then Baron's just like, okay, that hurt. Now I'm fine.
Yeah, that's the reason why. And I guess it's good drafting coming out from the side of E8 to take away the Lance away from Brenchong, but they've already picked out that Grace for themselves. But another team fight will be happening. Sync1 in a very bad positioning, but they will just back off at the end of it all. Not a lot of commitment coming out from both teams, although the poke from Sync1 though.
Yep, there's going to be the minion candy. Elite 8 want the turret. They don't need to win the fight. They're just going to get another turret and back off. It's a very objective focused gameplay. And Sync1 with Faint of Heart to dive in. Doesn't want to go too deep. Baron's gone for the Solar Blade Tyrant's build, so no armor pierce because there's no armor on the side of Elite 8, and no Serpent's Master because he just wants flat out damage. He doesn't need to sustain in this game. He needs to clear minions, and he needs to get to late game when he'll have the damage to help. To turn these fight around.
But looking over at Elite 8 side, the turret is still relatively, or their turret is untouched at all. And even then, having taken down 2 turrets, they are not exactly in that large of a lead. They are just a mere 2k above that of Brenchong. But Brenchong doesn't know that, do they? They are playing just so passively. Baron has got 2 offensive items already. He can just go in, be committed to a team fight. Sync1 has got a Shatter Glass as well, has got a level 8, has got a distance on point.
With Impale onto Mr. Jim, he will be able to back off. I've had a bit wide. Mr. Jim taking a lot of poke. That's Supernova will land. Solar Storm is available. Let's go for it. She's going for it, but he's already dead. Dead Hunt taking the majority of that damage. Now he's going to back off towards the sentry. One shot, not quite going to land. Good dodge from Dead Hunt, and a lovely Rose offensive over the wall, out of the core collapse. Black Feather steals away the tree, and now Official Hind. They're not going for the sentry. Elite 8 just going to push this turret. They are 3v2. Good damage on the on point. And Jaegers wants to push this wave. Another 1 point does connect. He could go aggressive, and they're going to go in with Dead Hunt. Sync1. Another 1 point doesn't quite connect. Fountain was used by Anime Save Me. Official Hind taking a lot of that poke, but so is Mr. Jim. Almost going to fall, and that will be Black Feather diving onto the time to kill Official Hind. And Kestrel with the damage. He's now going in double kill with Kestrel. He trades his life, but that will be worth it. Shut down for Baron, and Kestrel, I think there was a scout trap, scout trap right by the turret, so when Kestrel was invisible, that Baron knew about it. Official Hind being so greedy with the port, block doesn't quite stop out of the core collapse. One more push from Baron. I think Lance will be okay. It'll just get the wall as soon as Dead Hunt tries to go in on Official Hind, and then Anime Save Me should be fine. That's what I was hoping. That's what I was expecting from Anime Save Me. Saving your Celeste.
And on top of that as well, Githin Wall was just in time for that 1-shot 1-kill as well. So very good play. That is definitely a montage moment. Granted, you did not kill Dead Hunt with that, but if Han Jaeger was that crystal carry, have got to miss that, then it will be that optimum, the perfect wall, the perfect montage wall at least. But the side of Dead Hunt, or rather the side of Dead Hunt, I mean the side of Brenchong playing very passively. Although they are in the backlines, they are allowed to do that. They should just turtle up. But honestly, they have got the damage right now, as we did see in a lot of team fights. They have got the damage, but they're just unwilling to commit. If not, then Elite 8, because when Elite 8 do commit, they have only just one target. That Hunt did try to go in for that still.
Jaegers manages to secure the gold mines, and that's going in favour of Elite 8. Sync1 diving into the backline, has to immediately back off. One shot, not going to connect onto anybody. Official Hind wants to do the damage. There's the no-look Solar Storm. There's no need to do the animation. They'll just stand there and fling it out. Now Elite 8 wanting to push onto this third turret. I'm pretty sure they'll be happy with the gold mine. They don't need to get a turret. They could just rotate down to Sentry. They know that Brenchong aren't there. That would be the Minion Candy indicates a Sentry push. I think that's the first one for Elite 8. I'm not sure. And so Brenchong could try and defend it. It looks like the minion wave is too pushed for them to do so. So a free sentry, first sentry defeated for Elite 8, and Sync1's going to back off.
Yep, it is the first sentry at the end of it all. Elite 8 not really pulling out that sentry rotation that we were talking about so much in that first game, and in fact in yesterday's games with impunity as well. But however, we are seeing Elite 8 at home with that very objective focused gameplay that we've seen a lot coming up from them as well. Just not caring at all about the kills and just going in for those turrets and of course objectives as well. You just need to get your enemies really low, force them to back off, and then you can just go in for that turret and just secure that objectives for yourself. So honestly, very good play coming up from the side of Elite 8 right now. How do you think, Mini, the side, or rather, Brenchong should respond? Because playing passive right now is not really your options, although they try to be very aggressive with their play styles, but once they are engaged on, they just run away immediately. Do you think they should just continue pussyfooting into all of these team fights, or they should just muster up some courage and possibly win the team fights with the courage that they've mustered?
I think there's going to be a warshed actually onto the turret, and Venegas doesn't quite get it. They're going very aggressive now. That's going to be onto the Blackweather with the fatal part behind, trying to run away. Solar Storm will do a lot of damage, but there's the engagement from Brenchong. That's the aggressive plays. That's the courage. The turret did fall. Anime Save Me now going to go roll. He will port. Nope. You're going to have to try and impale over the wall. And will it be available? No, he misses the impale. Ace for Brenchong, but they did lose their tier 3 turret, so that will be tier 3 turret in turn for a tier 1 turret. Brenchong are going to get. And in response to your question, I think we just saw the answer, Luxuria.
Yep. Very timely, very timely ace coming out from the side of Brenchong, being able to just take down take that ace, and of course this turret as well. And I must say, a lot of times when I do ask the questions myself, the next team fight, it's basically the answer to my question. But now though, the side of Brenchong will just go in possibly for this gold miner, or they will just back off. Oh, sorry, I did not see the timing at all. And this is what I'm talking about. The side of Brenchong have obviously got that damage, right? As long as Anime Save Me, or rather, as long as the side of Elite 8 just have to be caught out of position just a little bit. And even then, if not caught out of position at all, they have a lot of direct damage onto those heroes of Elite 8, but they are just unwilling to commit. They are very, it's for the lack of better words, they are very pussyfoot into going into all of these engages. So it is something that, concerns me at the end of it all, because they obviously have got the damage in accordance to that team fight at least. But, they really need to find that a scenario, or that fight that they can go in, can commit as well, and not allow don't allow Elite 8 to just poke them out before they engage, because that is what happened a lot of times in a lot of team fights as well, that Elite 8 came out on top. It's because Brenchong just allowed them themselves to be poked out even before the real fight begins.
Yeah, that is very important, that Blackfeather needs to dive in. I know it's a Crystal Power Blackfeather who generally wants to poke, but against a Kestrel Celestial, you're not going to be able to do that at all. The Sync One just needs to dive in, focus the same target as Mr. Jim, who has got an awful lot of damage, I think is the best way to put it. Solarblade, he's actually gone for 100 and a little bit % crit chance. I'm not quite sure why he's got that Minion's Foot. So double Tyrants and the Tornado Trigger gives you 100% crit chance. So a Minion's Foot to give you a guaranteed crit on the next basic is useless. You should sell that and pick up a Bone Saw, or maybe even another Solar Blade, or a Breaking Point, anything. They're going to go for the fight. Mischief going very low. They say we're going to take a little bit of the poke. Now there's Sync One diving onto Venegas. On point does not land and doing the damage, but that is Blackfeather falling. He missed the on point. He is going to fall. Venegas very low on energy. Baron is going to back off. And now Mr. Jim just going to clear the wave. This could be a free Kraken for Elite 8. They are 3v2. But Kestrel had to port home, I said, because of energy. And now Elite 8 trying to push. In fact, Brenchong trying to push to the wave, and Elite 8 aren't quite sure what to do. They are now going to start the Kraken, but it will be flared out. Brenchong are going to know about it. Do you think they're going to be able to steal this?
Yep, I mean, the amount of damage coming up from Mr. Jim, he doesn't have to go in for the Kraken right now, but he can just slowly poke down the entirety of Anime Save Me, in which he is doing right now.
Here we go. Celeste secures it with a hit supernova. I'm pretty sure that's how Celeste manages to secure a Kraken. One shot onto Dead Hunt, and Baron's trying to do as much damage as he can onto this Kraken. Visual High with the poke. That is going to be a double shot after a Iron Cannon. And look at Official High. Sliver of health, and we'll be able to port home, but Mr. Jim knows that Celeste portal home will be loads of damage onto Anime Save Me. Now working on the Jaegers. That's going to be 2, 3, 4 shots onto the Jaegers, more than enough to take him down. And now Baron's going back to the Kraken. This will be a free 500 gold for Brenchong. So Celeste just trying to help out with an ult. Blackfeather gets the kill onto Lance. And now Celeste trying to 1v2. Dead Hunt is going to get the Holy Nova. That's going to be an easy stun for Celeste. Dead Hunt will probably lose his life. Yes, he will. Sync One unable to do it on Celeste. But Baron is bearing down on that Kraken. I think Kraken may get one turret. Mr. Jim not quite able to take it down, which is Luxuria.
Yeah, but I think Kraken will have a chance to get this turret. Had Mr. Jim gotten that tension bow, maybe he would have an easier time, but Kraken would definitely be taking this turret down. So I guess it's not all for naught. for the side of Elite 8, although they could have pushed better, Celeste's positioning in that team fight, she was just caught out in that Ion Cannon, and on top of that, a Baron's A as well, and that just kind of spells disaster if you cannot position yourself well as a mage. And on top of that, Hunt Jaeger and Official High, they are both on very squishy heroes, and it's down to Anime Save Me to provide those CCs. And like you said earlier on, Anime Save Me have got an insane peel with that Geethian wall. So if Anime Save Me cannot lock the enemies down with those Geethian wall, then at least peel for your carries at the end of it all, because they are very, very squishy. And in order for you to win any team fights, they must stay alive. They have the most damage as compared to you, at least. So once again, all three members in lane.
Gonna get impaled. He hasn't got the Slumbering Husk yet. He's got the Oak Heart, so the Dragon Heart working towards it, but hasn't got that passive available to him. I think one gonna dive in, play the part onto the Jaegers, gonna block the stuff with the most defensive. There's the Iron Cannon, fantastic placement on the Iron Cannon. Hide going very low, on point, managed to stand on two members. But look at Hun Jaegers, he is on a sliver, even lower than Celeste was earlier on. But he's forced to port home. No, he's not. He's just gonna one shot, and now he should port home. Well done. And Jaeger's able to back away. Mr. Jim needs to get that husk. He can shop. He can afford it when he rotates down to shop. Or maybe we'll see a Crucible. Who knows on this Baron. And a good fight from Elite 8. I think Synquon is extremely unfortunate to not pick up Hun Jaeger's, and probably could have got Official High if he'd have stayed alive, because Baron was ready to bear down on that Celeste.
Yep, I think Husk, it's the optimum choice of defense at this point in time. Firstly, it's not that expensive, and of course, as a Baron, you don't really need to say block out anything, because you have got the jump jets available. So all you need to do is just be able to tank out the burst coming out from the side of Elite 8. And I personally think that Elite 8 just allowed, Mr. Jim on that Baron to just scale so much into the late game right now. Since now Baron has got 100% crit, on top of that, very raw damage in terms of that Sorrow Blade as well. So they have to really watch out for the damage coming out from Baron. And
Jaegers, what are you doing? Jaegers just rotating, not with his team at all. Official High going to try 1v1 Synquon under the sentry. Should be able to pick up a kill with one more healer Genesis, but he's not going to get it. The Torque doesn't land. Massive damage, but that's the Husk doing its work, keeping Baron alive. Sentry MVP, not quite enough going to pick up Mr. Jim, but there's a lot of scout traps which would pick up Mr. Jim's life if Anime Save Me manages to bait him onto one of them, and he's going to boots away. Mr. Jim is too scared to help with this Kraken for now until he gets a Treant. Now, Anime Save Me, will he do it with the Impale? It shouldn't be possible, because Mr. Jim should easily be able to secure this Kraken, but Anime Save Me is definitely going to try it. Kestrel one shot in 6 seconds. This is just a bait to allow Kestrel to one shot the Kraken. He does now hit the scout trap, but he's healthier now. Kestrel has the one shot. They should body block it. He has no idea about when they're taking back in one shot. The Husk saves his life again. That buffed the Slumbering Husk to make it cooldown reduced, saving Mr. Jim's life. And now Brenchong look to be winning this game.
Yep, Brenchong looking very strong at this point in time. They could probably close out this game as well. To be honest, Mr. Jim has just got so much damage right now, and he can single-handedly just take down all of the carries coming out from the side of Elite 8, and that is just insane. I mean, although we saw some changes made to Baron, but Baron is still strong, but he is so easily countered now, as long as you know how to play an early game, in which I must say...
He's popped, Visual High jumping over the wall, he's going to get stunned by the corner collapse. Now there's more threats in by Anime Save Me. Solar Storm going to pick up Black Feather on the back line. Mr. Jim taking a lot of damage. He's going to lovely jump jets over the wall, and that will be a 3 Kraken for Elite 8. Baron not quite able to do the damage, and a good stun from Visual High.
Yep, so that is, I mean, the Husk is just so valuable for Mr. Jim on this Baron. A lot of times it just came in clutch for him. And honestly, yet again, there you go.
Once again. And he has enough gold that he can just keep selling and rebuying his Husk. Even if you look at the cooldown, it's already about 1/3 off cooldown. And so, yeah, he could just, if he really needs it, he could just sell it and buy it again. And then it will be available for the next team fight. So now we're seeing Elite 8 one of their sentries was taken.
He
They
just
now
did
know
so.
they're going to get their own. Yeah, he did it before, and now he can sell them by the husk. So it would have been up again for the next team fight. He didn't need to do that, but why not just guarantee that it's going to be up by buying it again? I think the Elite 8 have a chance to win this. If they get an ace, they get the game. Similarly, we're 24 minutes in. If Brenchong get an ace, there's only 2 turrets left. They've got a Baron. He will easily be able to secure the win. So all the pressure is on both these teams. The gold is now coming towards dead even. Black Feather with the metal jacket and working towards probably an Atlas one shot. I'm going to connect onto anyone. And yeah, Hunjaegers needs that bone sword just to work through Sync 1's defense.
But honestly, even for now, the goal difference wouldn't mean much whatsoever, because if you think about it, everyone is close to full build. Official High just need them Halcyon charges. Hanjaeger full build anime save me needs a cooldown item, which is slowly building into a problem now with Gauntlet. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Maybe
Yeah.
a Clockwork Nullwave would make the most sense just to counter that Grace.
Yeah,
And
probably
it's a
now
good,
with
good item on Lance, and they're going to go for a fight. Not quite jump just away from Baron. Double shot trying to save him. Pale does miss. This is the engage for Brenchong. What they wanted, lovely damage onto Sync 1 by Hunjaegers. Absolute domination. Now there's going to be Baron. He caught out. He can do all the damage that he can. Dead Pump with the double Divine Intervention. There's no mortal wound to stop that heal. Dead Hunt's armor's being shredded. 5 stacks of Bone Saw. Lovely block on the Impale. Kestrel will do the damage. One more Glimmer will be enough. The Bone Saw getting the kill for Hunjaegers. The double for Hunjaegers, a bit delayed. And now Elite 8 can just try to push for the win. What can Mr. Jim do? If he gets an ace, he'll probably be able to get the win himself. Now they're going to go straight up to the tower. Mr. Jim's got to go for the plays. Hunjaegers will take the He will fall. Mr. Hine is on the vein. Mr. Jim, get your jump jets up. You've got to go to Official Hine. Anime Safety will fall. Can Official Hine get the vein? He's so low on energy. Mr. Jim, he's got his husk up 2 seconds till the jump jets. And Official Hine basic attacking the vein. Will it be enough? One more shot from Baron.
Oh!
The vein does not smash. Just barely. 50 seconds on Celeste. Baron could just go for the win. Kestrel's up in 35 seconds. It takes about 20 seconds for a hero to walk down to the enemy base. Baron can make it 25 because he's a bit slower. Will Kestrel be up in time? Luxuria, what a close game.
What a close game indeed. Brenchong, stop clearing those minions and just go in to end the game. You guys have got the damage. You guys can take turns to tanker. But Castro, Hanjaeger up in 10 seconds. 9, 8. We can start counting down right now.
Sync 1 is tanking the turret. Hunjaegers is back up. Lance is up in 5.
Oh.
Sync 1 will fall. Almost definitely to the turret. Mr. Jim, can he do it? 1v1 on Hunjaegers. The damage is onto the minions. Hunjaegers gets the kill. Now we're going to see a reverse counter push to the vein. And that will be Elite 8 taking the win. We saw Elite 8 push, a counter push,
What a game!
and a counter push. GG, well played to both teams. And I think Celeste is going back to make sure the minions don't take the vein. You never know in this case, we might just saw a minion MVP. And
Yeah,
I think
true.
if Official Hine got those Halcyon charges a bit earlier, this game would have ended when Celeste was on the vein. Because she didn't have it, he said Celeste was missing Halcyon charges, that means she wasn't able to take it. And Celeste thought she could buy an Echo and use it for the vein, but that's not how Echo works. You have to have it available for you, Joel. Well played, both teams.
Well played indeed. Of course, a very close game. Very, very close game. I don't know what to say. I mean, Baron looks like he has got this, and honestly, had they not just cleared the minutes and just went straight into the base, the side of Brenchong would probably have gotten this game. But honestly, what's done. Very well played coming out from both teams. E8, a lot of mistakes as well. They allowed Mr. Jim to just farm up way too much. And Brenchong, honestly, a couple of mistakes here and there, especially Sync 1 on that CP Black Feather, do not seem very comfortable on it. Just constantly going in and die, not providing a lot of peel. And of course, I mean, as a CP Black Feather, it's played very different as compared to, say, the Weapon Black Feather, where you can just dive in and then just try to rack up as much damage then. But for a CP Black Feather, you really just want to poke on the brink of the battle before trying to commit in, as much as the side of E8 has to do. But of course, you'll be out-poked by that of Celeste and Castro. So I guess Sync 1 has got his reasons to go in for that fight, just face frontal first. But anyways, it is a very good game, very well played coming out from both teams.
Yeah, what a fantastic game 3 for us to watch. So that means Elite 8 are 2-1 up against Brenchong. Now we're heading into this 4th game. What are we going to see? Are Elite 8 going to take it 3-1? Are they going to be confident and comfortable and just push Brenchong from the early game? Or will Brenchong take this game and we'll be seeing the first game of 5? It's going to be very interesting, and we're not even going to have a break. We're just going to be heading straight into this game reasonably soon. So that's going to be especially exciting. I'd expect to see maybe even a Kestrel just banned, because Kestrel was really the wing condition for Elite 8 in that last game. I wouldn't be surprised if Brenchong, we know they don't like to change their draft. They're almost definitely going to ban Catherine, but I'd like to see something different from them just to try and counter what Elite 8 are comfortable at playing.
Honestly, if you think about it, in the last team fight, it is just down to what is that? A Han Jaeger, sorry, not Han Jaeger. Sync1 was just caught out so quickly in that team fight and just allowed Casher to poke him down, and thus the side of the side of Elite 8 has got that upper hand in that second last team fight. But at the end of it all, really well played. But as regards to your question, I'm getting tongue-tied there because I'm just so hyped. Honestly, I think Elite 8 will be very, very comfortable here. Just pull out, not showing their hands yet before the live championship, just playing on the heroes that they're very comfortable with. So I'm expecting maybe similar to comms coming out. Probably not the Lance though.
I think they might go for the Lance, but enough speculation. The draft is ready. So now we're going to be heading into the draft for the 4th game. And we may see a Lance ban now from Elite 8 just to get away from Brenchong. They're going to get rid of their own Celeste. And we know Elite 8 like to focus on either banning or picking Celeste. And again, they're probably going to ban Catherine, but I don't think they should. I think they should try and ban away from Elite 8. Maybe just get rid of that Kestrel.
Yeah, probably that. And although both of us think that Elite 8 will have this game because they're just so comfortable in the game, they are very good drafters. On top of that, they are mechanically skilled as well. But we do see a 50-50 in the studio as well, with some people in the behind scenes think that it will be a 3-2. So I don't know. Coming into this game, it's just down to draft, and of course the early game pressure that Elite 8 will provide, and whether or not Elite 8 will be able to end and take this game as soon as it starts, like we saw in that first game, or rather in that second game itself, when they just applied very good pressure in that early game and ultimately winning them the game with just one Kraken, if I remember correctly. So it is just down to execution, but we do see that Celeste being banned out. We might be facing some problems with draft at this point in time, so we might see a reset, if not then a pause. But for now, Elite 8 will be on the blue side, and of course Brenchong on the red side.
Yeah, so Brenchong still yet to show us what their ban's going to be. We know it tends to be Catherine from all the games prior. But yeah, I think it wouldn't be the worst idea for maybe a first ban of Catherine if they don't want to go against it. Because I think if Elite 8 are allowed to pick Catherine, they will, because they know that that's something that Brenchong don't want to play against. So that might be a good idea to for Elite 8 to do if Brenchong decide to counter draft from Elite 8, which we don't tend to see Brenchong do that much. Yeah, the draft is may having a little bit of problems, so just hopefully teams can get that all sorted out and get into this draft of the 4th game, which I'm not sure if it can live up to the hype of that 3rd game, but we're only going to find out when the teams do pick their heroes. And I think Elite 8 are generally stronger in draft. They generally come out with a more confident comp, and they come up with a more balanced composition, and they normally don't get counter drafted. They don't get out drafted by the enemy as much as other teams.
Yep, definitely. I must agree with you on that. Elite 8 very analytical when it comes to their drafting, and more often than not, they generally would want to pick a draft that, firstly, they are very comfortable on those heroes, and of course, secondly, on top of that as well, they want to be very comfortable with the rotations and, of course, the power spikes of those heroes as well. And with that, only experience of playing on those heroes can kind of help you with those. Besides being very analytical and mechanically strong, you need to be very comfortable as well. And that is really the essence of Southeast Asia in this recent seasons, or in this few seasons at least. A lot of teams just want to settle for the comfort picks. And with the comfort picks, and I heard something rather interesting for Elite 8 as well, is that they will look at the meta comps, okay, and then they'll pick out 3 heroes that generally would counter all of the meta comps, and within that 3 heroes, they'll see which hero will counter their comp, and then they'll ban out in those phase. So basically, that is how they go into picking out their team comps. That is something that I heard. I'm not sure how true it is, but that is a very clever way to face draft or go into draft. But talking about the draft, we do see the Celeste and of course Catherine being banned out and Lyra being picked up for the side of Elite 8.
Yeah, they do like to play Lyra. She's obviously a really strong captain. I wouldn't be surprised if Brenchong go for a Grace as first pick. It would make a lot of sense. I don't think Celeste would be the best decision because it's just she can be countered by dive. They're going to go for the Baron again. Brenchong losing 2 games with Baron, still deciding that he's worth it. I mean, maybe they've got something else that we haven't seen yet, but I don't
Crystal
think
Baron?
Maybe a Crystal Power Baron, an even more late game hero than Weapon Power Baron, even though that doesn't seem possible.
No, I don't think a Crystal Baron will be coming out. But once again, a rather peculiar pickup coming out from the side of Brenchong with that. Baron, however, we do see the first Cruel being banned out against that of Elite 8. Granted, Cruel and Lyra synergized very well, but they could have just picked it up for themselves. And we haven't quite seen Elite 8 picking up that Cruel as well.
Yeah, the problem with wanting to pick Cruel on B side is you don't want to pick Baron and Cruel as your 2 heroes. First of all, it's double weapon power. And second of all, you're giving away your jungler at this stage, which you don't want to do on B side. So they're just going to pick up their captain. Be happy to get the Lance. That's a good pick for Brenchong. I don't think they would have minded the Grace ban. I think they probably preferred Lance anyway. The Grace ban just made that even more likely. And
Definitely.
now, there's a lot of things they could do. They could still go Kestrel to try and counter the Baron. They could go Idris. They could even go Vox. They could go very similar to the first game that we saw them do, which was they went Vox and Blackfeather. And so if Elite 8 just do that again, admittedly they're on the other side, but it could work out just as well as the first game did.
Definitely. I mean, there are a lot of heroes they can pick out just to counter this comp. High mobility heroes generally will counter that Lance, and of course this comp as well. If not, then they can risk it, put that Scarf in that of lane. The only reason I'm saying that is because Scarf just clears wave faster than that of Baron, and you have a certain range for yourself, so you do not have to be afraid to be poked out by that Baron, and you get your items faster, so you get your power spikes faster. As a Scarf, you don't quite need those levels, you need your items, yeah? Your Frostburn, your Eve of Harvest, your Broken Myth. So they can go for that route, although it's quite... it's not very much seen, but Trophies did pull out that comp, rather not Trophies but Enix, and they played very, very well, putting that Scarf in lane. And even then, ASN Esports, one of the top teams, even it do give them the respect and do ban out that Scarf every single game. So the side of Elite 8, they can just go for that just to clear the wave much faster as compared to a Baron, and then of course go for that weapon carry. Like say, I don't know, they have a lot of options
Glaive,
right
for
now.
example.
Glaive would be a good carry. If not, then we've seen an emergence of Fortress as well going up against Barons. That is one thing.
I don't think we're going to see a weapon Fortress though.
No, not a weapon.
I know we'd like to see it, but maybe if they go something like an Idris, we could see Fortress. Then of course you are double melee, so Ryan becomes available. And so it is a possibility to see a jungle Crystal Fortress with someone like a Vox, maybe even a Ringo. I think there's a lot of different options for Elite 8. I would love to see the Idris and then a jungle Crystal Kestrel. I think that would be fantastic against the Lance and Baron, because Kestrel can come up to lane and force.
But even better.
Even really good against Baron is Taka. He's reasonably easy to counter. They could just go Petal and that would counter Taka really well. But of course, this weapon-powered laner has to be good against Petal. Kestrel can work well against her. I think somebody like Vox wouldn't be the best. And I think, they're going to go Idris lane. Oh dear, this is a really good comp. How did I not think of it? Idris Taka up against the Baron. This is going to be really troublesome for Brenchong. Elite 8, I'm sure they will know how to play this comp properly.
Yep, but more often than not, usually Taka just do not come into the back of our minds or even the front of our minds when we think of Team Comms to go up against Baron. But Taka has just been so strong in the previous meta and including in this meta. I would not call him niche, although he's rarely picked up, but I'm sure Elite 8 will be very comfortable with their draft and of course be very happy as well with that Taka. They're probably going to go for that double weapon blade just so they can push that Black Feather out of the jungle as soon as possible. And on top of that as well, Idris being in lane going up against Baron, the classic counter into Baron, and yet none of us kind of thought of that. We just went through all of the options but Taka and Idris. What a powerful comp coming out from the side of Elite 8, and they can definitely execute this comp, and it's the easiest comp, or rather easier as compared to the comp coming up from the side of Brenchong.
I don't think it's the easiest comp to execute, Idris Taka. You need to practice it. You need to have gone into some practice matches, gone into some rank matches, and just played it against loads of different people to see how teams respond to the Idris Taka. Because some teams decide to go for just engage on you first, and then you can't do the combination of Idris hides inside Taka and then they expect to win. Some teams will just back off as soon as you try it, as soon as they see you. So I think Elite 8 will have done the practice. They'll be ready to try and execute their comp. But as you said, it is a lot easier for these double dive heroes to dive on top of Baron than it is for Black Feather and Baron to be able to outpoke them.
Yep, definitely. But I do see in lobby though. Okay, never mind me. And I must agree with you. Much easier to execute, because if you are going to run that CP Black Feather, then it might pose a problem for yourself to go into the late game, like we did see in the previous game as well, when they were on that. One of the teams, or rather Brenchong, played that CP Black Feather. Did not quite go well for them, because more often than not, Sync 1 has to be front facing, have to be in front into the back lines, try to take out that Celeste, but then Castro could poke the Black Feather down. But of course, in this game, a lot of melees will be going up against each other, barring, of course, that of Baron. So Black Feather lacks appeal, like that of a Glaive, per se. The only peel that the side of Elite 8, or rather Brenchong, has is from that lance. But you really have to think about it. It's either you're going to use the Impale to initiate, if not, then you're going to stick around with Baron just so you can peel for him.
Yeah, now we are into the fold for the fourth game. Elite 8, if they do get the victory, will be going straight to the live finals, and Brenchong need to win this game to take it to a fifth game. It will be the first fifth game that we will have seen, and that is surely something to be excited about. And Hunyega's going to be voting up to lane, and we saw Dead Hunt and Synquan just taking the backs together. So Mr. Jim and Synquan taking the backs together, and it looks like Baron is being a little bit hyper farmed. Brenchong doing very similar to before. No, he just took one of the minions, not taking all of them.
Yep, and that is rather sad. Like, I do not want to see the first game repeat itself, because it's clear that it doesn't quite work whatsoever. The only thing it does work for you is that you starve yourself out. Whereas CP Black Feather really needs those farm, really needs a Shatter Glass as well. So I don't think Baron will be hyper farmed in this game. And honestly, I think Baron will just settle for the build that he went for, that Sorrow Blade into Tornado Trigger into Double Tyrant's Monaco. It worked out very well for him in that previous game, so it's definitely the build to go to. Han Jaeger, though, might experience some problem in that laning phase at least, but of course not before Sync 1 with Official Hein in their jungle.
Yeah, Official Hein going to go aggressive up against Sync 1. Good from Lyra, good Titan. Try and do a lot of damage, but Official Hein is going very low on point from Black Feather. Could try and spot him out, but not quite. Official Hein now is probably going to back off, but he looks like he wants to steal some farm. I think that's very risky. I think Official Hein is going to go for the backs, and that's a good rotation from Baron. Official Hein able to secure not the first, and he should fall. Yeah, there's no way he's going to get away. He didn't get either of the backs, and now he's just sneaky. Mr. Jim, double shot, going to go, but a lovely Chitin. Official Hein just being such an annoyance on this Taka. He will be the first blood given over to Black Feather. Baron lost a little bit of CS, but he helped secure his jungle and help his team get the first blood.
Yeah, but honestly, if Official Hein really want to go for that aggressiveness in that early game, it would have been recommended. It would be recommended for Official Hein to just settle for double weapon play, because like we saw on Uni the other time when he was on Taka, he went for double weapon blade. Although it's not as economical as we like it to be, but if you can starve out the enemy's jungle, then it's definitely worth it at the end of it all. We do see though that Hunt in that lane of theirs, trying to put up pressure like that of Anime Save Me. Anime Save Me in the early game can definitely out pressure that of Brenchong, granted, because she has got that heal on that Lara, and on top of that as well, your basic attack range is just so much longer as compared to that of Dead Hunt and his big sword.
Yeah, looks like Elite are going to try and push the wave. There isn't a Crystal Sentry for them to try and take, so that rotation isn't quite going to work out, but there is a turret for them to start doing a lot of damage to. And there's going to be all three members of Brenchong rotating up. Fated Heart on Blackfeather, 220 on that on point. And yeah, Elite 8, a little bit of damage, maybe 1/4 health taken off this turret. And now they're both going to back off for home to base. Good minion candy from Dead Hunt actually to help Baron push this wave quicker. And so that means it's likely to lose a little bit more CS than if he didn't candy it.
Yep, definitely. So there is one thing you must know. Ooh, Anime Save Me might be in trouble, but nope, I take that back. When Dead Hunt
just a lance. Just a lance.
It's just a lance indeed. I thought there would be a follow-up, but I wasn't watching the mini-map. I apologize. So there you go. Dead Hunt though really pushing to the limits of his comfort zone, or the comfort zone of Elite 8 at least, just going overextending a little. Dead Hunt though, trying to hold the minions for Baron, but I don't think it will be worth it at the end of it all. But Mr. Jim will be in lane right now. So honestly, coming into the team fight, and I saw something earlier on just now that I want to point out. Oh no, never mind. Sick1 is in lane. But yeah, I saw something that. Yep, I saw something that, I would like to point out as well. If Githin Wall doesn't chain well with Baron, if it's Baron jumps in, and then, granted, Baron has got very high or long attack. Okay, never mind. Okay.
I'm doing a little bit of poke, and Jaegers wants to try and push this wave in. Blackfeather's picked up a full Shatterglass. It's a good time for Brenchong to fight. And they do not want you to finish your point, Luxuria, but I think now you'll be able to.
Yep, so what I was about to say is that if Glance do Githin Wall away, Githin the enemies away, and Baron do jump in without a lock-on, or rather a tap on the hero, then it'll be poor organization, because poor coordination at least, because there was one that I saw earlier on. Mr. Chip jumped in, wanted to take tag on to Han Jaeger, but didn't quite, wasn't able to, because that Han pushed him away with that Githin Wall. So just a thing I pointed out, just a tidbit, I guess. But once again though, we do see Mr. Jim rotating a lot into the jungle together with Sync1. I don't think Sync1 is quite hyper farming Mr. Jim. It's just the ambient gold, and of course the ambient experience as well that Mr. Jim will get. I'm expecting a little more aggression coming up from Elite 8, which I personally think it's kind of lacking for now, because since Mr. Jim will be a terror in the late game.
Going in, Baron jump jetsing for minions, so that's free for Official Hind to use that X-Retsu. It's up again in 1 second. Mr. Jim is in a bad position. X-Retsu could be a Kaisen over the Impale. Lovely play from Official Hind. He doesn't need energy. He can just get kills. Hoodjager's not quite level 6, so we're not going to see the Idris delivery system quite yet. Dead Hunt is spending a lot of money on those minion candies to try and help stop this aggression from Elite 8. It's not doing that much. Hoodjager's is tanking the turret. Fountain will not be enough to save his life. Dead Hunt wants to try and stop this turret falling. Official Hind will get it. That'll be worth it, even if he does die. Baron is going to jump jets forward. Official Hind, what are you going to do? There's a Baron there, and he's just going to try and run. I think he will get away. Yeah, Baron will not know. Taka manages to sneak away, and that is a good turret for Elite 8. But look at the gold lead. It's nothing, despite the fact Elite 8 have got a turret. Yep,
definitely. So, very good play coming up from the side of Elite 8, if I have to be honest. Although they did dive in, and, the side of a Brenchong could pick up 3 kills from that, or rather 2 kills from that. Even that, Elite 8 is just being so focused on those objectives. And that is what that we've been talking about. Elite 8, their classic playstyle is just being so objective focused. In that second game, if I'm not wrong, they managed to push 2 turrets with only 1 kill. And all they did was just get the side of Brenchong low enough before they go in for those objectives. And this is something that Elite 8 excels in. Of course, we did see Infamous doing it very well as well. But Elite 8 is just too hard onto objective to focus at all on kills, as we do see now though.
Lyra manages to pick up the gold mine with that Imperial Sigil being popped. Always good for Lyra to easily be able to secure those objectives. Now Elite 8 rotating up. It's going to be Taka sneaking towards the lane. Could be an X-Rex wants Mr. Jim, but he's going to back off smartly. Shuhan still wants to see if he can find something, but probably won't be able to. Elite 8 trying to push the gold advantage. They're not that far ahead. There's X-Rex going to go onto the Lance. Nice minion candy, but what was the use of it really? Because Jaegers has still cleared the wave, and now Fishelheim diving in onto Baron. Will he catch the double shot? No, Baron won't even double shot him. Now Fishelheim is quite low, and Jaegers has the Shimmer Strike, but Fishelheim doesn't want to go in yet. He hasn't got an aftershock, can't quite afford it. So they're just going to back off. Anime Save Me still can't afford an echo. So this is Elite 8 not quite in the right position to fight. Minion candy picked up now by Anime Save Me to try and help counter the minion candy that Dead Hunt has been using.
Yeah,
going back up the lane. Jaegers looks like he wants to go in. It's a nice on point, but the Imperials will keep him up healthy, and I think they are going to back off now.
Yeah, the usage of Anime Save Me. I mean, the usage of minion candy coming up from Dead Hunt, more often than not, it's very questionable because it is 50 gold at the end of the day, and if you're not going to properly use it, then it's 50 gold down the drain. So Dead Hunt just constantly just putting minion candy over and over again, although none of the side of Brenchong has or is planning to push whatsoever. But we are entering the part of the game, you know, with the Baron in it, where it's just gonna stagnate out all throughout. Official High may be caught out right now by 61.
He may, the flare will catch it out, but Jaegers going to go in. There's the damage. That's a Baron absolutely eliminated. Sigmund's going to be next. There's the portal from Lyra. Official Hand will fall to the Faint of Heart. Idris is actually extremely low. The MVP doing all the work. Anime Save Me wants to find Sigmund, and he will. And Sigmund will pick up the kill. Crystal Century MVP easily able to help secure 2 kills. So a good start from Brenchong. Elite 8 turned it around spectacularly. X-Retsu from Taka, the damage from Idris, the Shimmer Strike from Idris just to help secure the first kill on Baron, but then they were under Sentry. They couldn't really do much.
Yep, Sentry MVP indeed. The amount of damage that came out from that Sentry probably helped the entirety of Brenchong secure the 2 kills that they got in that particular team fight. Else, I personally think it was just positional problems that came out from Elite 8 in that particular team fight. Had they just positioned themselves better, much better, because I mean they have zoning skills coming out from that of Anime Save Me with the Bright Bolt, but then in lane though.
It's going to be Anime Save Me. Speaking of him, he has fallen, trying to freeze the wave for Jaegers, but there's going to be Shohan diving in onto Baron. He hasn't used Kaisen yet, there will be. He cannot dodge the dump jet, so that means Shohan is very low. He will dodge just barely the Impale. Now they're onto Jaegers. Will he be able to get away? Answer to that is possibly Sigmund.
Oh, the plays!
But almost enough. Lance actually picking up the kill. He's like, oh, you're going to on-point me. Looks like I just need to ult inside of you. And turret, once again, doing turret things, and that will be an easy tier 1 turret for Brenchong.
Yep, that was an easy turret and of course easy kill at the end of it all. Then it's quite sad to see because the entirety of Elite 8 was just so disorganized in that particular team fight, and honestly if they were traveling as a team again, because a lot of times we did say, and we talk about a lot of teams in Southeast Asia, they really need to gather and travel and move as a team, rotate as a team at least, because that's what they do best in. If they are going to go in for like a one, just holding lane as a one-man team, then they more often than not will just be taken out by the opposing team.
Iron Cannon secures the gold mine. Jaegers very low. Then Hunter's going to try and get the kill. Fish Pine diving on the Baron. Elite are a little bit split. They're going to come together on the sigil. Another Exetsu. Lovely kill for Official Hide. He will die to Black Feather. 1 basic attack was enough. And Jaegers has got his Shroud Step up. He uses it. Has got the Shackles trying to get a little bit of poke onto the Synquan. There's the Arcane Passage. Very aggressive from Arthur. And Jaegers going to follow. Will not get booted by the Treant. And now who's going to secure it? It will be Black Feather. But so much damage. That's just getting 1 kill. Elite 8 can easily get a Sentry now. Sigmund has no chance to stop it. And Jaegers is going reasonably low, but he's got a Lyra. Going to just be able to secure the Sentry. Black Feather can't do anything. And that is a win for Elite 8.
Yep, they could have just secured that Sentry at the 4th minute mark. That way, they just went with the Sentry rotation. Then they could just fight, because like I said in the previous game, Elite 8 really enjoy fighting in the enemy's jungle, and that is why they just opted for the Sentry rotation, because they can do it so efficiently. But because in this case, when they do not go with that particular rotation, then they cannot quite pick fights in the enemy's jungle. And even then, we did see though, Official Hein got very, very low then just because of the sentry.
Yeah, he did. Official Hein did manage to get the kill onto Baron though, but Blackfeather was easily able to get the kill because Idris and Taka aren't diving in together really. I think they really should try to a little bit more. Like using Idris ult on top of Taka and then diving Baron, making a Baron doing a lot of damage onto Official Hein. Good dodge by Hunjägers with the Shroud Step. That's a nice bite ball walk, stopped the engage from Sync 1. Hunjägers is out of position. He's going to boost away, very clever. And now Brenchong going to rotate down to try and catch out Elite 8. But Elite 8 are going to rotate now together back as a team. Going to back off towards their jungle. It hasn't quite respawned yet, so Elite 8 are either going to go back to lane or just wait for it. And they look like they want to fight, and Lance got quite a bit of vision. We see the Echo on Lance. I don't really like it. I know it's for double Gideon Wall, but I think if we got an Atlas Potion against Idris, that would be way, way better than just a double stun.
Definitely, I must agree with you. The double stun would not mean much if...
Here we go. Jaeger's going in. That's going to be Gideon Wall into the wall. Jaeger's going quite low, doing the damage on Sync 1. And there's going to be the ultimate. Jaeger's solo. He's going to die to the faint of heart. And Official Hein, what can he do? Not much is the answer. He's now going to try and just run away. Kaku is going to take him to the place and he'll be spotted out by that flare. Sentry knows where he is. And he's going to now try and get a speed boost. Actually, he's just going to take some farm because why not? If you're going to die, might as well take some farm with you. And he's going to sneak. Oh, Sentry knows where you are. Doesn't matter if you go invisible. Ace for Brenchong. And maybe we were wrong. The Echo actually worked out quite well for Lance on that Gideon Wall.
Yep, it did. And that's something that I wanted to say and point out just now as well. It's that, I mean, he Gideon Wall once echoed and no one was expecting the second stun coming out. And by the first Gideon Wall, generally you want to move into the team as well. So that is why, I guess that is when the Gideon Wall works fully, because of just on that fight. If we could replay that, then it'll be amazing to watch, right? Because Lance Gideon Wall first time, then the entirety of Elite 8 thought that there was no more Gideon Wall for the next 5-6 seconds, and then it came down into Lance, and then Lance Gideon Wall yet again, and I think that is what they caught the side of Elite 8 out of positioning, and a lot of times that Sync 1 and Mr. Jim have got enough damage, especially since if you are caught out of position, and of course if you can, or if Lance can hold you in a certain position for a very long time, CCU for a very long time, then you are in a big trouble.
Yeah, so here we're going to see Elite 8 trying to push against Brenchong. Baron has got that infusion. So there's infusions across the board, and now Hunjäger's going to back off, going to dodge that impale with his Shroud Step. I think Elite 8 need to do the Idris Taka actual composition. At the moment, they're just playing it like a normal team. Maybe Idris dives in, maybe Taka does, but they're not together. They need to have Idris Shimmer Strike inside Taka when he's in Kaku. Then Taka Exretsu's, Idris jumps out, easy kill onto Baron. He's gone Glass Cannon. If you do that combination, Baron will die instantly. It works against people that have got vision, and there it's going to be Arcane Passage. Idris is going to go in, so is Taka. Exretsu's going to land onto Baron. Into Jim is going to fall. That's what he needs to do, Elite 8. Just dive in onto Baron. They don't care about this turret. They're going to go on to Sync 1. And Jaegers wants the kill. He will get it. He's tanking the turret. Shut down for the Taka. And now they want to go for Dead Hunt. Are they going to dive the turret for it? That is the question. He's got his Echo. He's going to not be able to use it. He tried to use it on the roll. Didn't quite work out. That is an ace for Elite 8. And that will probably be a turret or a Kraken. And they're going to go for a Kraken, I think.
Yep, that's a very good fight coming up from Elite 8, and every single time we make a point that a team should do, they just execute it beautifully in the next team fight that comes on. So very good play from Elite 8, and honestly, at a point in time, Lance wasn't quite intact. I mean, his mind is as if he wasn't quite in the fight as well. And of course, the plays that Elite 8 try to pick their fight, it's quite good, because in tight spaces, that is when Sync 1, of course, Mr. Jim and Dead Han excels in fight in tight places because of Gideon Wall firstly. On top of that, on point hits all three, and Mr. Jim basic damage does splash, and that's 125 or 130 splash onto your ally, so onto the enemies at least. So that is why, a lot of times if Elite 8 would pick those small spaces to fight, Brenchong would definitely come out on top. But of course, lane wise, the side of Elite 8 has
going to be the engage. And MSAB's going to go in, and that's going to be the arcade passage to get them onto the turret, actually. And Idris is going to jump away. They saw the counter engagement with Brenchong. They're going to disengage, but that will be Lyra falling. Visual High going to try and kite him, and he's going to just try and take the turret down. Idris is very low. Has got the Shroud Step in now. It is available. Now his Taka just trying to sneak. He probably just wants to bait them to not go for Kraken. Well, that worked. Now you're dead. Kraken's going to beat that on the first turret. He's just backing off. That wasn't a great push for Elite 8, but you can never really expect much when the enemy's got their choke point turret up.
Definitely. I mean, the choke point turret is one of the hardest turret to push down, but it's quite interesting to see. Gold lead, or rather the gold is of course in favor of Brenchong, but Brenchong is still playing very passively. Whereas we look over to Elite 8, they are sitting at 38.7 goals compared to 41.8, and yet they are playing so aggressively as if they have already gotten this game. And it's granted for them because the amount of damage that they can put out with this Taka and Idris onto Baron is just immense, and we did see that as well. But there is one thing that I must point out: the official high did not go for that spare, or did not go for the piercing shot, instead opting for that heavy prism. And that is something that I believe that we've spoken about a lot. It's that if you have an aftershock, it's always quite the better option to go for that piercing shot because of the extra shield pairs, just in case the enemies do build shield against you. And in this case, Sync 1 has got shield against official high, although Mr. Jim went for glass cannon, but Sync 1.
I think it's the main thing is that even though you said Mr. Jim hasn't got any defense, he's gone for 5 damage items. Every hero has an 86 armor and shield as a minimum, pretty much, and an infusion also gives you armor and shield. So Mr. Jim has about 100 shield, which you can pierce through, and I think it's just such an important item that Heavy Prism is almost never worth it. Unless there were 3 glass cannon heroes, you just shouldn't go for the Heavy Prism. So I think they would do more damage if Official High went for piercing shard, but it's okay. Against this Baron, it will do similar damage because he hasn't got any extra defense. But obviously against Sync 1, it just won't do as much. But then again, their composition isn't built around killing Sync 1. It's all about getting Mr. Jim, bursting him down before anything. And Elite 8 are going to get a gank on Baron. There's no way that Brenchong is going to know where they are and flare that bush.
Yep, we must start whispering though, because the side of E8, it might... Oh, what is Taka doing?
Shh. Brenchong going for the Kraken. I don't think they know about it. I don't think they can see the animations. Now they know. Lyra's going for the Kraken. She's going to have to get it. It'll be too late. Now they've got to go for a fight. Elite 8, they can go for the Kraken. That would not be a good idea. They need to fight. They need to try and take out Mr. Jim. Mr. Hines going to go in. There's the lovely jump jets from Mr. Jim over the wall, forcing Taka to back away. Taka's 1v3, and he's going to try and go to the portal, but they know where he's going. He's now with his team, and the portal expired before Sync 1 could follow through it. Brenchong, they said, okay, you're probably hiding. Let's just take a Kraken. We can't see you. You're probably... we have no idea where you are, but we can take the Kraken. And this could probably just be 1, maybe 2 turrets for Brenchong, unless Elite 8 make a mistake. They should be able to defend this pretty easily. Mr. Jim will die as soon as they get vision on him if Bishop Pine gets that in within Expensive range. There's going to be Dark Game Passage. They want to go onto Mr. Jim. Expensive in, kites in over a single shot. Jaeger's going in with the ultimate. That's an easy kill onto Baron. Jump jets won't be enough. Sync 1's trying to dive under Sentry to run away, and Elite 8 smartly, as I said, Kraken will get 1 turret. That's it, because it's so hard to fight under this choke point turret.
Yep, very poor decision making coming up from Elite 8, hoping to gank Baron, although and excellent and rather wise choice from the side of Brenchong. If you cannot see the enemy and nowhere else you see them, not even in lane, then might as well just go for the Kraken. But I guess at the end of it all, it's kind of worth it for the side of Elite 8 as well. They get 200 gold each, or rather 500 gold each in exchange, giving away 300. So they are still kind of the upper hand in that particular gold exchange. But of course, we do see a 3.4k gold lead, or rather 3k gold lead over to the side of Brenchong. And yet again, Brenchong is playing so very passive, just unwilling to fight.
They don't want to fight, but Elite 8 is going to bring the fight to them under the Sentry. But Jaeger's not going to take the double shot, actually went up to Lyra, and that's Sync 1 going through the portal, and MSAB is very low. He is going to fall, not able to use the Fountain or the Crucible. That's a disaster for Elite 8. Double kill for Black Feather, and for 50-second death timer on Taka. This could just be the game for Brenchong. They might just push for the win and take this into a game 5. One thing I want to point out, Mr. Jim has built an Aegis, so Official Hein should definitely have not built a heavy prison. That was a definite mistake from him. He thought Baron wasn't going to build defense. Now that he has, Official Hein just unable to do the damage. And Jaegers has to go in, he has to try and fight. He's going to clear the wave. I think he's hoping that Brenchong are going to make the timers long enough that the rest of his team can respawn. Good dodge. Mr. Jim can do a lot of damage. And Jaegers, no fear, just fight. He's going to go in. Lots of damage on the sync bar, but the minions are there. Lyra's up in 2 seconds. What can he do? He's diving onto Baron. Baron jump jets, double shot onto the turret. Mr. Jim's going for the Vayne. Sync once on the back line, but there's Lyra portal to get you in. Baron is dead. Can they get Sync once?
Oh!
Not going to be able to get the Vayne. Now 50-second death time. There's 2 turrets left. Elite 8 going for the counter push. Will it be enough, Luxuria? Do they have the time, or are they going to go for Kraken and take the second?
Why is it so that this game has to be so similar to that of third game? Once again, a very close game. If Elite 8 do not push well in this game, they can give the Ace over to the side. Yeah, they'll give the Ace over to the side of Brenchong, and Brenchong can take this game of 4, pushing this into a 5th game. But however, they have the damage. Yep, they have got the damage. They can definitely end this game right now. They are going for it. I don't know. I personally don't know. I mean, Baron will be up at this point in time. Baron can go in for the 1.
He's going to try and get Jaegers. Oh, lovely ship and truck from Jaegers.
Oh, so close.
That is the game 4, taking Elite 8 for 3-1. And I think the reason why Elite 8 won that, whereas Brenchong weren't able to do the counter push in the first game, was because Elite 8 ignored the minions. As you said, they ignored the minions. They went, okay, we've got the damage to take this turret without minions. And so they got to the couple of turrets like 5 seconds earlier than Brenchong did. And so that 5 seconds changed the game completely. Elite 8 take this series eventually 3-1.
3-1 indeed. A very exciting series to watch. I mean, it kept me on the edge of my seat, very, very close in a lot of scenarios and situations, especially in that 3rd game and 4th game. Looked rather equal throughout. I'm sure Brenchong will be unhappy about the situation, or rather unhappy about the performance today. But I'm sure they should give themselves a pat on the back for performing so well, going up against Elite 8, the Spring Live Championship champions. It's so weird to say that, but honestly, very well played to Elite 8, and of course, congratulations for making it into and qualifying for the Live Championship for summer season.
Yep, so we now know at the end of the playoff battles, teams that will be advancing to the Live Championships we have Infamous, Impunity, ASN, and Elite 8. So those are the 4 teams that you'll be seeing at the Live Finals.